your best one now in Scottsdale. You don't even live in Scottsville,
No.
Arizona.
I live on the East Coast.
And it makes you $150,000 a year.
Yeah.
Net.
Net.
Cool. So let me are you going to bring the comment little thing? So let's talk about this case study. I'm going to always play devil's advocate because there's a lot of critics in the world.
Of course.
Okay? First one is there's this comedian I love named Sebastian. You guys, you see Zach? Sebastian's playing at Madison Square Garden. We should go see. Anyway, he says, what is wrong with people? They have Airbnb, like you want to let weird people into your house? Did you have a screening method so that you didn't wake up with a meth head with a knife over your
I had a couple weirdos, so, it's not for everybody to let somebody in your own home, but...
Hey, but a lot of people do it for free rent.
You can do it, and you got a couple of good rooms here.
No, not here. This place got 6 bedrooms and 7 baths, but that's a lot in New York, but you would not be able to pay me enough. Okay, are we getting people saying they still can't hear? Look at the YouTube.
We're good. I just checked it. So.
Okay. Somebody said you need a restart for sound. Is there some weird thing with YouTube not having sound? If you're having any issues on YouTube, go to Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. Okay. Somebody said we good.
Yeah, we good.
Abdu Dowdy. Abdu, you got the best name ever. Abdou Dowda. Abdou Dowda. Hey, on Instagram, you see this woman, this girl who has the longest name in the world? Remember that, Zach?
YouTube's fine.
This girl named her daughter, I think it's something like 300 names. And she was on the Oprah show. Oprah goes, why did you do that? It's funny, Oprah's not even a regular question. It's like, what's wrong? She's like, I wanted my daughter to be in the Guinness Book of World Records. And she could say her own name. Anyway, Abdu Dowda. All right, let's give away some money I'm going to do more case studies. We're training you. This is kind of a preview of this new launch that I'm doing. A new program. 2 years ago, I launched the SMMA program, made ton of people millionaires, and you were in the SMMA.
I was, yes.
You were in SMMA. You were in 3 out of 4 here were in my SMMA program, and yeah, it's been. Somebody said that guy keeps the same pose and face since the beginning. Zach, you gotta give
He
some
said the same
expression.
thing too.
You gotta calm down.
All right, let's give away $100. We're giving away $1,000 to the winner today, and then chance at $10,000 Friday. Who could be helped watching this by stack of 10,000 sent to you on PayPal? Not literally. You'll have to take it, deposit in your bank account. But who has the best business idea, specific idea, to share with the community? Don't worry, I'm not going to steal your idea. I've been doing this investor show for over a year and a half, and I haven't launched one of the businesses that won or anybody's idea. Anyway, the idea is to share this with other people. I'll invest in you guys so that you can start, you can start your own program. Okay. All right, you can start your own business. What is the best business idea? We got to pick throughout the show. We got to pick 4 to nominate. Then I'm going to put on my Instagram live and my Instagram story where you can vote. Somebody said Uber for prostitutes. Anyone? We got 4.
We gotta vote.
We have 5 investors here. Yeah. So we're doing what should we put on Instagram for the vote? Someone says, is this actually legit? 24-hour movie theater that premieres a movie at midnight. Protein shakes for meals. Need to be more specific. Back handle moisturizer. Help to stop smoking. Vegan fast food. All right,
Yeah,
vegan fast food. Jeff Perry.
Yeah.
Let me take a picture of this. Can you grab that comment? Do you see it? Jeff Perry.
On Facebook?
YouTube. Jeff Perry, YouTube. You're nominated. Everybody give that a thumbs up.
Yeah,
We have to have
thumbs up.
unanimous. Here it is right here. You can scroll up.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so we've got nominee 1. That's going to be on my Instagram story in a little bit.
I saw Zach move.
Zach moved. Vegan fast food. Okay, and you're going to get $100 just for winning the audition. For winning the nomination. Anyone who's nominated gets $100. The winner of the whole thing, today's vote, gets $1,000, and they're entered automatically into Friday's 10 Gs. I'm investing in people, investing in businesses. That's why I call the show The Investors. I always have different guests on, so I got 4 guests on who all invest in real estate. Daniel Birmingham said Airbnb property management. Everybody give that a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
I'm gonna give that a thumbs up.
Sure.
That's what we're talking about. Okay, that was the obvious elephant in the room that nobody picked. Did you get that on YouTube?
No, I'll get it right now.
His name's, what was his name? Daniel Birmingham. $100 plus you're now entered in the finals or the semifinals that we're doing. Okay, I'll come back to this. Case study. For somebody starting out, how did you get started with your own Airbnb and home sharing management company?
So I ended up, I took your SMMA. I was also running a TV streaming company at the time. I combined those two incomes and I bought my first property in cash for $330,000.
Nice.
And then from there, I had only my taxes to pay on it. So I basically pay $400-ish per month, and I'm making roughly $3 grand a month on that property.
You still have it.
I still have it. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
pictures of it on my phone. Yeah.
Pull up a picture. Let's show people. And it's in. For those of you watching from around the world, he's not from the United States. This works outside. One of my top students I have another real estate investor program. First guy to have success was in Sweden.
I'm lying.
He made, I think, $15,000 on his first deal, and he's now making 6 figures. So this works in Sweden, works in Canada. Basically, it works anywhere where there's home sharing. Let's talk about the legalities of
Not
this.
North Korea. It's the only place you can.
Not North Korea.
North Korea,
And
you're
some
out.
cities don't love this. Let's talk about this, Brian. What's some
Yeah.
cities people don't like?
All right, some cities that are not super friendly for home sharing would be like San Francisco,
Yep.
Denver, right here in New York.
Yep. It's still possible. It's just a little harder.
Well, there's rules. Like if you're the owner and you're staying in the unit, then you can do home
Yep.
sharing, those kind of things. So
But you can always move to the outskirts.
well, there's some limitations, but 92% of cities in the U.S., we just hired a research firm to do this, 92% of cities in the U.S. and towns allow home sharing. So only 8% don't. And of those 8%, only half enforce.
Yeah.
Only half of them enforce at all. So
Yep.
and
We're
once
not
I-
telling you to do it.
But if you were,
This is probably not a mortal sin if you do it. We should zoom that far view. It's a little bit too far. And it's a little too high, I think.
Okay, I'll switch it. I mean, we have this angle, so I'll switch for now, but I'll switch.
Yeah, because it looks like we're kind of, I would come at, it looks like our heads are viewing. Okay. Questions on this. Let's talk to Zach and Brad here. So Zach does more traditional real estate investing. What's got you excited right now? And what would you tell about your first deal? How you went from $5,000? He showed me the tax returns. $5,000 one year. Next year, 1.16, $1,100,060. How did that feel, by the way?
Felt great.
People don't believe you have any emotion. Zach actually has emotion.
It's my first flip on flipping a house. The check came in at around $240,000. And I actually
How much of that was profit?
It was all net. It was all net profit. And there was actually a bonus, $34,000 in that check because I was reading a book, The Art of the Deal, and he was talking about how his developments, he sold the condos himself, so he is the listing agent. So I said, well, I was like, dang, so I really, on the back end, the realtor commissions at 6%, what if I could cut out 3%, how much would I net saving myself 3%? Came up to 34 grand. So I said, okay, well, how do I get this on the MLS and list it myself? And I found a way to do it, and I net an extra 34 grand. So, getting a huge 6-figure check like that, from going from 5, I almost cried because before that, I was just making enough money just to pay my bills and just, get food. So when I had a check like that, it was just,
And you're married. How'd your wife take it? Was she a lot happier with you?
yeah. Yeah, well, there was pressure though, because the thing is, not everyone really believes in you at first when you go off. And it took me 2 years to actually succeed. So there was a lot of people that were telling me, just quit, or, why don't you get a real job? Stuff like that. So it was real difficult because, she did believe in me. But it was real tough, sometimes when not everyone believes in you, and, you just have to see the people that are actually doing it, and that's what gave me the faith to keep going. So, and it paid off. It was worth it. And there's so many times I wanted to quit, but, looking back, I'm so glad I never quit.
Awesome.
yeah.
Let's talk, Brad. First or not first, but a deal you did when you were getting started out? Because he's got a real estate agency that actually helps realtors with marketing, but you also got real estate rental
Yeah.
properties,
I've
more
got
traditional ones, right?
More traditional. So
Yeah.
my business partner and I have about 60, and then we're adding probably 15 more this year.
Are they all down in North Carolina?
Yep.
So are they homes, condos, apartments?
Most of them are single family, couple of like duplexes and triplexes. So
Okay.
we've got a side of the building side, so we were able to build a lot of our own.
Oh, nice.
So we can kind of work the profit on a couple of different sides. But I think the most kind of creative, or what got me really started, was in my own home. So I was working in the marketing side with a guy who was in the mortgage industry, and I just started asking him, like, how do you buy foreclosure properties? How do you, I wanted to buy a home because I knew home ownership, there was a lot of equity you can be made in it. So I started looking at foreclosure properties. The problem is you got to have cash to buy those foreclosure properties.
Yeah.
So I went to him and said, all right, how about if we do this? I'm going to find the property, I'm going to do all the work, and I'll pay you $3,000 to hold it for a day. So I went to the courthouse steps, bought it, and used his money, and then the very next day did a traditional close on 100% USDA loan. So I was able to buy I think I paid like $70,000 for that property, 100% financing, and then ended up selling for a little under 140. So that was kind of my first deal.
So how much did you make on that first deal?
I mean, probably at the end, about, because I had some money in it, about 40 or 50,000.
Nice.
And I mean, from there it was like,
How did that feel?
oh, it was great.
Make your own 40 grand, make your own money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Questions here. I need to create a SpaceX for somebody. Okay, so a little practical advice from investors. Don't try to have your first business be one that Elon Musk is doing. Remember, Elon Musk's first business was not SpaceX, it was not Solar City, it was not Tesla. He started, even before PayPal, he had another company. I forget what it was, but Mark Cuban, I know, Mark Cuban told me he started out in just door-to-door sales. And then he built a company, a computer company, and then he built his online radio company, and now he owns, Dallas Mavericks and Shark Tank and all that. So don't go too, I see comments sometimes and I'm like, whoa, people are going a little bit, don't get ahead of yourself. And one of the things I tell people with this home sharing thing, one of the best things to start with is either the place you live in now, if you own it, or you have the lease. If you have a lease, you need to talk to the landlord, but a lot of times you can talk them into it. Just say, hey, I've got some extra rooms, do you care? And if you have some persuasion skills, you can always tell them, the good
That's my room
news,
right there.
show this here.
That's my room.
That's the room you rented out in your first place?
In my first place, yeah. A little room, pretty ugly. I furnished it myself and decorated it myself.
And that place paid for your rent plus a little profit left over?
Yeah, all the utility, everything. My cell phone bill, every dime I made at work went in my pocket at that point.
Yep.
And so then I was like, how do I expand?
What's your biggest expense in life? Almost always, your biggest fixed expense is going to be housing. If you look in the United States, like for example, loans, banks look for and expect people to be putting 20 to 30% of their gross income. That's a lot, because that's gross. You got taxes, so you make $5 grand. Banks are expecting you to possibly be doing, $1,000 to $2,000 a month. And so, if you can get it free, that's a badass way to start this thing.
Yep.
So, okay. By the way, we're going to be putting up here. I don't see if it's ready. Rick, ask Ben and them if it's ready. This whole podcast is kind of free training. We're starting a private test group, just like I did for social media marketing 2 years ago, just like I did for e-com, like I did with 67 Steps in 2014. Now I've got a new test group for you guys in 2019. So it's a paid test group, but we're giving you a whole bunch of free stuff because I don't want you to feel like we're just getting you on here to sell. But this is like my podcast, so we're going to put a little ad here in a second once the link's ready. Okay. Somebody's giving me the answer on Elon Musk. R. Pollard Realtor on Twitter said that Elon Musk made 22 million in his first business selling it. Then he put that all into PayPal, and then he sold PayPal, and his profit was about 100 million. Then he put all that. I've had some interesting talks with Elon Musk. He goes to a lot. He likes to go to Hollywood events. So I've talked with him 3 or 4 times. And believe it or not, I don't know if I told you this, Josh. I went with Dolph Lundgren to the
Hail Caesar.
to the Hail Caesar movie premiere, the Coen brothers. Anyway, you guys know who Dolph Lundgren is. He's in the new Creed 2, and he's also in Aquaman, which did $1 billion. So I've gotten to know Dolph Lundgren. He actually punched me once in the ribs and kind of slightly fractured my rib. He's like, let's play a game. We were training. He's like, you hit me first, and then I'll hit you. And he has huge hands. He got a big ass, like a brick house. You know, they say like Roberto Duran had manos, what were they? Manos de hands of stone. Anyway, he punched me in the stomach, and I had a slight hairline fracture in my rib. So I was at this with Dolph Lundgren. We're at the movie premiere, and he's sitting. We get our seats. I go get some popcorn. I come back, and I'm like, we're sitting next to Elon Musk. So I go to Dolph. I'm like, because it was like Elon and Dolph. I go, you're sitting next to Elon Musk. He had no idea who that was. He's just chatting with him like it's nobody. We went to the World Series. I took my #1 300 student, this guy named Dan. I was talking about it earlier. He was in prison 2014 in a 12 by 20 cell. Last year he made $25 million net. He's in 3 of my programs. He's my #1 success story monetarily, if you look at dollar. Anyway, so I took him to the World Series. He's a big baseball guy. Of course, LA didn't do well, but we're sitting there. I was an hour late. I don't like baseball that much. People would kill me. We had badass seats. I got there like the 6th inning. So I go sit, and here's Dan talking to somebody. They're talking back and forth for hours before I got there, I found out. And it's the founder of Uber, the Travis guy who's worth $42 billion. So I'm like, Dan, that's the Uber guy. He's like, huh? Anyway, a great way to network with billionaires is not know who they are, because then you act normal.
Yeah.
Oh, you want a little networking tip? A lot of people go and start networking, and they get like very nervous. Don't get nervous. Pretend you don't know who they are. They used to say, pretend that you're looking at them naked. Although that kind of makes me more nervous. I'm still talking to Elon Musk naked. Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about 3. Okay. They want somebody here, Mr. Solo Dolo, on Twitter, says, I'm talking about his place, I presume. He wants to post it on Airbnb. Let's talk about how to do a home sharing ad, whether it be on VRBO, whether it be on your own website, if you want to have that, or Airbnb. How do you like to craft? What do you say? Yo, I need money. Come stay in a room.
Well,
don't be a psycho.
You've probably got some good things to say on how to rank high on Airbnb, but what you say is not as important as the photos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because when people use the site on Airbnb, they're scrolling through like pages and pages of amazing places, and they're going to click on 1 or 2 or 3 of them and see which one they want to book. So your photo has to make them stop.
Okay.
And stop scrolling and say, yeah, I got to look at that
Put a
place.
picture of a naked person on the bed. You ever see that one? Talking about this is my investor show, but Ollie G did an investor show years ago. You ever seen that one where he tried to punk Donald Trump, but he went to these VC investors and wanted to invest in his idea, the ice cream glove. You ever seen that? He's like, when you're eating ice cream, if it drips, it catches on it had a lip on it. Anyway, he's talking to this woman, VC, and she goes, but how are you going to market it? He goes, with the most powerful image known to man. And he flips up a flip chart, and it's a naked woman on a horse, a drawing. He goes, with the ice cream glove on. So you could have,
So you
don't use that for Airbnb,
You
right?
want a picture of Elon Musk naked
Or
on your profile.
Yeah.
So a picture has to make them stop, okay? Because when people look at Airbnb, they don't look at every single listing. Or on VRBO, they're scrolling really fast. They're trying to pick something that looks good to them. So that cover photo has to be really excellent. Make them click.
iPhone good enough? Just shoot with iPhone?
No. I mean,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, if you know how to do photography, but I recommend you hire a professional photographer to come
Okay.
in, light it up properly, like we're lit here.
Yep.
Just like hotels do. When you see a hotel room on Travelocity or whatever, it's professionally lit.
Yes.
And the better you can make it look, you're basically competing with amateurs. Everybody on home sharing sites is amateurs. So if you can make your photos look amazing, even if your listing's not amazing, you'll get more bookings.
You can
You
hire a
get a lot
professional
more.
too, right? Through Airbnb.
You can hire a
It used to be
professional.
free. Now it's about, I think it's $150.
Yeah, you can hire a
And
professional.
that's a good investment, 150 bucks.
Oh yeah,
Whatever.
because you can make that in one night, one more
It's like
booking.
Netflix. It's
Or-
the same analogy.
Or just Google how to do photos. It's
Yeah.
not that hard. Take a photo class.
Airbnb actually offers it in the app too now.
Yeah,
Me too.
Airbnb, yeah.
Yeah, it can take a while to get your photos done, but photos are extremely important.
Lisa said, great advice, Ty. Well, it's actually, I can't take credit. It's their advice, but I will pass it on to them. Great advice. Great
Thanks, Ty.
advice. Greatest advice. People are still submitting ideas. A halal McDonald's. That's actually a good idea.
Probably do well.
I
Halal
got a
or
good idea for you, Ty.
Over Middle East.
There's Turo, so instead of Airbnb, we can start getting cars instead of homes because it's a
Yep.
sharing app. We can
Turo
start
is like that. Yeah.
paying these cars off.
Yep.
Start with one, then two, same idea, and you scale that way. We can do it with Turo.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't heard, Turo is an app, and there'll be a competitor to them, but I don't know who the competitor is now. But Turo, you can go into any city instead of renting a car from Budget or Avis, you rent it directly from a person. So it's car sharing. We were talking today primarily about home sharing, but it's good. This new sharing economy is going to change the world. The largest taxi service in the world owns no cars, Uber.
Yep.
The largest hotel service in the world owns no buildings, Airbnb. You know, so this is the future. The largest journalistic and magazine and media company has no reporters, Facebook.
Yeah.
You let people, so this is a future that each of you should get into. Those of you, is the link ready?
Yeah.
Did they say? Okay, bring a little whiteboard around. For those of you who are enjoying, I'm gonna take a little commercial break for a second. It's not really a commercial, but I launched the first test group in 2014 for my 67 steps. I launched my second test group in, I think it was 2016. I launched, 2015 I launched my accelerator business program. It was a test group. 2016 I launched social media marketing agency, SMMA. 3 of the people here who have gone from rags to riches were in SMMA. My top 300 student who made 25 million bucks last year doing lots of stuff, but he started with an SMMA out of prison. Then I launched the e-commerce in 2017, right? So now 2019, fast forward, I'm giving you a chance if you want to get into the private test group. We're doing a couple hours of free training, but if you want to have step-by-step training, okay? Right now we have over 10 hours of training, and by the time it's all done in about a month, we're still building it, there'll be about 40 or 50 hours of training. So I recommend you get in early in these test groups. I know that sounds self-serving, but let me just tell you a true story about my test groups. I'm good at finding new angles that actually legitimately make money. I started at 19. I've been doing this a while. I started a food business with my first mentor, Joel Salton, profitable when I was 19. I've built many businesses since then. Sometimes people think I just do social media. It's not true. I didn't do social media until 2014, really. But now, when I launch these, a whole bunch of people are going to get in this program. And the more people who get in, it becomes more and more saturated. The first person who got in on day one of my social media marketing agency, Jaden Gross, I've shot a few videos on it. He never had a bank account before, 21, living in his parents' basement, or his dad's basement in Chicago. First month, he came to me, emailed me, I don't know what to do with this check. He got a $30,000 check from his first customer. They paid full year.
Nice.
He made $1 million gross and netted $400,000 his first year. Second year, I think last year he told me he was going to do $6 million. I'm not sure what he's doing now. He's 22 or 23. He got in early. When he got in, anybody you talk to. Now I've trained over 30,000 people to launch their own social media marketing agency. So now I'm training people how to do an HSMC, home sharing management company. I recommend be the first person to get in this. Seriously. I know it sounds like I'm trying to sell you, but whatever. Everybody's trying to sell you everything. Mark Zuckerberg's trying to sell you to scroll through Instagram. And Jeff Bezos is trying to sell you to use Amazon to buy everything instead of going to a store. There ain't nothing wrong with selling people stuff. Elon Musk is trying to sell you to use an electric car versus a gas-powered car. The only bad thing about selling is if you're selling crap. This isn't crap. This is being taught by people who have actually made money doing it. Okay? So if you want to get in, can you write the link on there? We put the link in YouTube Live. I'm going to read the name. I'm going to frame the name of the first person who gets in HSMC. Home share. I've never, this is literally live. And this is a new, history's being made. On day one, it was in September of 2016, Jaden got in social media marketing. And I don't know what his numbers are this year. I don't know if he actually hit 6 million. But trust me, when you net $400,000, you know you're in the 99.999 of the United States, which puts you in the 99.99999. And he was only 21. He sent me a picture of his new house. He got a house in Denver, Colorado, 6,000 square foot house. My first student, here's something crazy. You know how you meet a kid that wasn't yours? You know that happens to people? Like the kid's 30 and he's like, oh, that's my dad. A year ago, my brother goes, hey, I met this guy, Dan, at some event. He goes, he's been in your program since he was in prison in 2014. So I was like, oh, introduce us. Little did I know, this dude did 25 million net after 2 years of being in my training programs. Anyway, this is the link right here, tylopez.com, HSMC Live. Or you can click the link on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If you're listening to this later, tylopez.com/HSMC Live. That stands for Home Sharing Marketing Management Company. I'm going to teach you how to build a home sharing management company. Those of you in my SMMA, this is the perfect complementary business. Get into real estate, man. I've been in real estate since 2006 as a part-time investor. Don't even make it your full-time thing. It's your full-time thing, but it doesn't have to be. Grant Cardone is his full-time thing. You know, a friend of mine.
Side hustle.
For me, I like doing online businesses, but every millionaire and billionaire I've ever met, in fact, when Mark Cuban was over at the house, I was talking to him. He buys real estate, multi-billionaire. If you go down to, I have a friend, an older mentor, who won't come on any of these streams. I've never gotten him. He's like 70. He's like, I don't like this newfangled thing. So he did a REIT roll-up. To do a REIT roll-up, you have to have over $1 billion in equity. Yeah, he made billions. And so I've seen millionaires who did it in e-commerce. They all have real estate. Jeff Bezos has real estate. Bill Gates, Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, everybody. So if you want to get in this training, it's a 3-month training program. We're going to have a certification. 4-month training program, certification, just like my social media marketing test group, except this is a home sharing using Airbnb. To get in real estate, you start with your own house if you want to. You start with your grandma's house. You start with your mom's house. You start renting rooms out. You take a cut of other people. Other people can own the real estate. Then you can take the profits and buy the place. Tell them about the one, what you guys are doing out there. You were telling me that you're using then, and you're going to pay off the properties.
Oh, yeah. So what we're doing now is...
Listen to this, it's crazy.
You can use other people's properties, which is one way to do it, just controlling the property through a lease. But you can also acquire properties. What we're doing is we're buying the most dirt cheap property you can possibly find because the ROI is so
You're buying
high.
it for like what, 50 or 70
So
grand?
I'm buying it for 40 grand, 45 grand, putting 30 into it, so we got 75 in it. But that property will make me about 30 to 36K per year, so which means I'll pay it off in 2 to 3 years.
Let me stop you right
Every
here.
2 to 3 years, have a free house.
You know how most people have a 30-year mortgage on their house. Most people pay 30 years to pay off their home. And you pay with interest to the bank, you pay almost double. You buy a $300,000 house with a bank loan 30 years, you're going to pay about 600 G's.
Yeah.
Okay, he's saying he's got a way to buy cheap homes, 70 grand. If you know the home sharing management company system that we're teaching, you're paying it off.
Pay it off in 2 to 3 years. Only charging $97 a night, by the way, for the whole house.
Yep.
So that's because it's cheap neighborhood. So cheap house, pay it off in 2 to 3 years, create an income stream for life.
Yep.
And then do that every couple of years, or go get a bunch of them, pay them off immediately.
Nothing better, because then you own the property forever. As long as you pay the insurance and the taxes, you now have something to generate you $97
Yeah.
a night. Is that for one room or for the whole house?
For the whole house.
Because it's a
But,
cheap house.
That's conservative. We might charge more than that, but that's the one we're renovating right now.
So
We
one
estimate.
property could be making you $1,000 to $3,000 a month net.
Net, yes, for life.
So you get 10 properties. That's $10,000 to $30,000. Now you're not going to do this overnight. This isn't a get-rich-quick scheme.
Yeah.
Some of you are too impatient, but you can start. How long did it take you to start? What were you doing before, Brad? Before you got your first check at the courthouse, how much money were you making?
I was working. I was actually, I think, still in college when I did that.
Okay.
I was just about to graduate and was just about to get a job working as a multimedia coordinator at a church, and did that for probably about 6 months. And I had my side hustle, the marketing company. And quickly after that, I was like, wait a second, I'm making more money on my side hustle than I was at my job. So I quit my job and started to kind of focus on the marketing. And then that kind of was the catalyst to get me into real estate.
Yep. That's what I said. Those of you in the SMMA. All right. Let me see who's the first person to get in HSMC. So you just go to tylopez.com/HSMC live. All right. That's the link to get in. Or if you're on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. On Instagram, we pinned the URL there. You want to go there. Let me pull up. I got a little app now. I built my own app to see my own sales. Okay, let's see. Oh, man, I think I already missed the first person. Okay, I'm going to scroll back. All right, I see the first person is right here. We just announced it. Let me just make sure there was no one before him. It looks like it's Felipe Bruno.
Felipe.
No, sorry. No, it is. Felipe is first.
Yeah.
Then Carhan Lacroix, David Marmon, Brian. Okay, so I'm going to...
Felipe Bruno.
Yep, Felipe Bruno was the first person at 2:45 p.m. 2:45 p.m. got in. Welcome. No, 2:44 on Twitter Live. On Twitter Live, right there, you could see it. Karan Lacroix was number 2 at 2:45. David Marmon was 2:46. I love it. Well, I said I'm gonna put a little plaque. Hey, make sure we get a little plaque for Felipe Bruno. Make sure we get him for all my. We got to find out who's the first person in my 67 steps. That was the July 2014. Then SMMA was September 2016. I don't know if Jaden was first. He was in the first day, but I'm not sure who was actual first person. You know. Okay, I see a little bug on my app. I want to fix right now. I want to add the location because then I know where you guys live. Okay. Youssef said, can you do this from your garage? Yes. You can. Hey, you know what you do? Home sharing? Set up a little bedroom in your garage, sleep in your garage, rent out your main house. Look, think about this. 1 week, live in your garage, make enough money to pay your rent, and in the other 3 weeks, you get the whole place. Or,
No, I got one better.
yeah,
Airbnb your house, go on vacation.
there you
Pay
go.
for the vacation.
Live at your girlfriend's. Live at your parents' or your boyfriend's. Not trying to discriminate. Okay. Somebody says, does Oprah do this? No. No. I don't think a lot of billionaires are going to be in the HSMC program. But you're watching this because you ain't in the HSMC. All right, let's do some more free training because I'm not here just to sell you. I want to open up the test groups because I have great results. 4-month test group. tylopez.com/HSMC live. Okay, let's go into some more training. There's 4 phases of any business I've always found. You can break down any business into 4 phases. So phase 1 of HSMC, we're just kind of brainstorming, to me is getting your first home sharing deal done, whether it's in your own house. Remember, you can also do this for your parents. You can do this for a friend who has, you always got a friend that has a big house.
Yeah.
A lot of friends you might have got a big house and they can't quite pay the mortgage and say, dude, I can bring you an extra $1,000 a month. We'll split it. What do you think's the best split if you do someone else's house?
If you're doing all the work and you're approaching somebody that's not already doing it, 50-50 is fine.
So let's take a house. Let's say you got a friend who's got a house in the suburbs, 3 bedrooms, something like that. What's a realistic amount you would gross and net from that house?
It totally depends on what market you're in. I mean, you can make a few $100.
Let's say
$500,
Chicago. Let's say
1,000.
Chicago. We'll
Or you
pick
can
a.
make a couple $1,000s on just one room in Chicago.
Yep.
I mean, because I was doing a room and making $2,500 to $3,000 in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yep.
So, yeah, a couple $1,000s on a room.
Let's
Right-
say you're
right.
watching this and you want to move out of where you live now because it sucks. This is the key. You go get a place. Now, there's important here. When you get a place, you need to have the rights to sublease it.
You do.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that so that we don't want you to have any pitfalls here because If you sign a lease that said, because let's talk about your pitfall. You made this mistake,
I made this huge mistake.
and it cost you money.
Cost me $5,000.
How much do you think it cost you in that mistake?
Well, it actually cost me $5,000. They sent me a $5,000 fine for infringing on their bylaws within the condominium because I signed a lease agreeing with the owner. They said subleasing is fine. We didn't read the terms and conditions on the bylaws for the condominium, and it clearly states no subletting, specifically on Airbnb. So I ended up paying out the fine. The owner and I made an agreement. Now the owner has it under her name, which essentially the Airbnb is now leased, and I manage it for 25%.
So you can just, that's why I said you set up the management company. There's a lot of money in services. Yeah. Services require the least amount of money down. I was reading an old article by my mentor, Alan Nation. When you don't have money, start with services. You can't build, you can't manufacture until you have some cash. So all those ideas that made Elon Musk money, like Tesla, that's manufacturing. You need some cash. He had $100 million to start. So, by the way, those of you in the program saying, why am I paying money for this? You're paying money so you don't make $5,000 mistake.
Exactly. It's going to save you a lot of money.
So you worked at, so what do you look for in the lease? What does it need to say? Do you write your own lease and make sure it says, I allow Brian to sublease it? Okay.
Keep it real simple. So you take a standard lease and you add a 1 page on the back. It's called an addendum.
Yep.
That addendum just says, Brian is not going to live in the property. The owner gives Brian permission to have short-term guests in the property.
Yep.
I always get it in writing. I never do a deal where it's not in writing exactly what I'm going to do.
Don't do things in handshake,
Don't do 'em
people.
verbally, yeah.
Every bad deal I've ever done was where I verbally did it. People will just outright lie. I never said that.
Yeah.
Like, you can't believe. Second best thing is, if you want, I'm going to give you a little ninja advice. When you have this lady or man signing it, be like, hey, I like to video all my deals. Get their permission, turn the camera on while they sign it. Yeah. So if they ever take you to court and go, I didn't sign that, I was drunk or under duress, or you'd be like, let's watch this video. I had a friend who made about $200 million. He was married to somebody short term. She signed a prenup, and then they went to court when they got divorced later. And she said, I didn't sign that, and if I did, I was under stress, and he was forcing me to sign it. And he goes, remember we videoed it? He turned it on in the courtroom, and she was laughing, telling jokes. She didn't win. So,
well, some people
turn the video camera on.
Some people sneak around to do this.
Yes.
But you'd be surprised. You can tell the owner exactly what you want to do, and owners will agree to it.
Yep.
If you pitch it the right way.
Yeah, don't be afraid to be honest. You'll lose a couple deals, but you're only losing deals that are going to be nightmares in the long run.
Yeah, and we train on that in this course.
Yep.
In depth.
Now, Brad, you've got 60 properties. You're not just doing Airbnb and things. You own a lot of these, right? Mm-hmm. What do you look for as a landlord to approve somebody? How should people dress? How should they talk? Do you meet them in person? Should they have a little resume cover sheet? Like, is there anything you as a landlord look
for
at?
the tenants?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have a property management company that handles a lot of that for us. But, you know, the nice thing is there are all kinds of services out there that pretty much automate a lot of that for you. I mean, and it's, especially nowadays, and it's not expensive where within moments you can see credit report and they can do that, you know, that entire thing online. But, I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, you're going to notice how somebody dresses and look at things like their credit report and all that to make sure they're a viable tenant.
If you have bad credit, when you go to people, don't be afraid to just say, hey, I had a little rough run with credit. Tell people, because people have sympathy when you're upfront with them. When it looks like you're hiding stuff and lying, that's when you're going to get in big trouble.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, all I want to do is make sure that I minimize my risk.
Yeah.
So if someone's going to be shady about it and everything, for sure. If someone's going to, like, I just want to make money off the deal. And if I feel confident that they're going to be a good tenant, then there was one that lady who's staying at one of my homes, she had kind of a rough go at it, and I gave her first month free. And so
she didn't have perfect credit.
Yeah, and so it worked out. And the great thing is, like, she was super loyal and thankful, and I think she's going to be a great long-term tenant, you know, because of that. So, yeah, I mean, it's not always black and white.
Yeah. Now, let's talk Zach. Zach likes to buy and flip in various strategies that are separate from HSMC. With the home sharing management company, what would you were talking about how you can buy low value properties, 40 to 50,000, fix them up a little bit. So here's a strategy for those of you who are a little more advanced watching this. What do you like to fix up when you do a fix and flip, Zach?
Typically, I'm buying like hoarder houses, or we call them, collectors of items. A much nicer word. But usually, it's hoarder homes. Like when you go, like on my
Twitter homes?
Hoarder.
Oh, hoarder.
Yeah.
I thought he said Twitter homes.
We turn them into like Twitter homes because the people who move in probably work at Twitter. Because I'm in Silicon Valley. But yeah, hoarder homes. So like pretty much homes that you go and you could hardly even walk through. Like the last house I bought in Sunnyvale, I like literally like 75% of the homes I buy, I haven't been in at least one house inside. I have one room inside the house because when we go to open the door, it's just so full of stuff that all I do is just like stick my phone and my camera in there and record it because there's stuff like.
So that's your ideal property, a hoarder home.
Yeah, hoarder.
Because they haven't destroyed it, but they're obviously what?
It's just so full of stuff and outdated that they feel like, it's going to cost $1 million to fix this thing up. So
plus, when they go to show it to other people, no one wants to buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to buy from unsophisticated sellers, by the way. So if you go into a place and it's perfectly staged and they're like, we own 600 houses and this is one of them, you're not going to make a good deal with that person. But if you go into one and it's a hoarder, they can't even get a realtor to bring somebody in. It's such a junky place. Yeah. And by the way, you can find a hoarder home, and if they need money, you can also, here's an idea, and we haven't talked about this. You go to people who are home is going to be foreclosed.
Oh, yeah.
And you say, why is your home going to be foreclosed? Oh, you short $1,000, $2,000 every month. It might be a nice house. You could present to them, hey, I have my own HSMC, my own home sharing management company. I'll bring people to your property and we'll split the money 50-50. And if we do it right, we'll make you an extra $2 or $3 grand a month. You've got a high-end property in Scottsdale that nets you $150,000. So if you were splitting that, that's $75,000 a year, $6 grand a month you could give them. You could keep people out of foreclosure.
You'd be surprised how many people won't do it for themselves. They just won't do it, and they have this house sitting there. They got a second home. They got a vacation home, and you can approach them and say, "Let me list that thing."
This is a gold mine. This is a free podcast, my free show, my investor show, and if you listen to 1/10 of what we're talking about and put this in action, you're going to be my next success story, just like I've had in every one of my test groups. Let's talk about marketing properties, because this is something all of you have skill in. Yeah. How do you rank on Airbnb? Now listen closely, because this is ninja stuff we're about to give you. How do you rank on Airbnb so that your property shows up? Because you can't do regular SEO optimization stuff.
You can't. I mean, we have both organic, which means you're not paying for your ranking to go up. So if you're not familiar with SEO, it's just search engine optimization. If we look at Google and we look something up, you're going to understand that you have certain websites that show up on page 1. You're never looking at page 2. The same fundamentals go for Airbnb. So there's little things like you can, like Brian was saying, disruptive pattern behavior. If you have a really good picture, when you're going through Netflix, if I use that as an analogy, you can see that certain titles, even if it's a good movie, if the cover doesn't look good, you're typically not clicking on it. And it's the same thing with Airbnbs. They're not going to read the reviews, which also is a main selling point. Airbnb, just like Instagram as well, likes to focus on giving people credibility when you're using their platform more. If they notice you're getting more bookings, they're going to also reward you with that. If you respond to your reviews and say thank you for staying, I'll give you 20% off your next stay if you're ever in town again. That's also something that they're going to give you brownie points for. So then when you start to grow your Airbnb, you can start focusing on, let's just say you have 10 plus properties. Maybe they're smaller properties. Or maybe you have a big property, like you're saying, Brian, a luxury mansion, apartment, or a massive home. You can essentially build a separate website. And this separate website, you can install Facebook pixels, you can run Google Analytics, Google AdWords on it, and you can retarget anybody who's visited that website using Facebook ads to target anybody that's come to your city to visit or be. So having this separate website, since Airbnb has your listing on there, you can't install any of these pixels. You can't do any advanced things, and a pixel just allows you to track all the data that if you throw a Facebook ad up, maybe you run $3 to $5 a day, super cheap. You're going to get people's attention that are coming to your city for big events. It's a great way to fill the occupancy rate and boost up your SEO ranking.
Yeah, and nowadays it's so easy to build. What software do you use to build a website? Do you use WordPress?
I do
you use-
WordPress.
Yeah, so you can make a WordPress installation. It's
You
basically
can do basic stuff. Wix, you know,
Yeah.
it's super easy.
yeah,
One
Wix.
thing-
You could do Squarespace, all that stuff.
One thing you could do is if you know a conference like you were talking about this earlier, it's all about networking. So if you build a relationship with someone who's got a conference or a big event that's coming in, and you can get the email addresses of the attendees there, you can then take that into Facebook, upload that as a custom audience,
Yep.
and target based off of that. It's because those people are going to be going into that conference and
You
looking
made
to
Zach's
attend it.
expression change.
Yeah.
That means that was a good idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I'm like, wow,
No,
that's a
because
good idea.
especially you go into places like Silicon Valley. That's what I first started hearing about Airbnb and home sharing. In fact, the guys who started Airbnb, we've forgotten to tell the story. Have you read the story of the
yeah,
founding
yeah.
of Airbnb?
Yeah.
It's because they live in Silicon Valley, and I think they were in San Fran.
Yeah, Sam.
And they rented their own place out.
There's some air beds in a room and called it
Yeah.
Airbnb breakfast.
So by the way, this is not an Airbnb only strategy, but if you want to know will this work, Ty, Airbnb's founders did this to become billionaires.
Yeah.
Don't forget that. So if anybody goes, oh, this sounds like a scam, I'm like, have you ever heard of Airbnb? Airbnb, I think, is bigger than Hilton Hotel. It's like,
The
it's
top 5 hotels combined,
Yep.
bigger than all of them.
and it started with home sharing.
Crazy.
So if you're not
insane.
taking advantage of this test group, you one day, I'm gonna meet some of you, and you're gonna be like, Todd, things didn't work out for me, and I'll be like, did you remember when I did this live stream? No, seriously, I don't like to gloat. I don't say it from a place of like, haha. I'm just more like, hey, everybody complains nowadays, but when you give people a chance, people go, oh, I don't, I'm afraid to do it. Don't be afraid. Be afraid of only one thing in life, and that is living a crappy life. That should be when you wake up in the middle of the night, it should not be like, oh, I launched a business. Will I be able to pay my bills this month? It should be, am I going to live a good life or a crappy life? And most people wake up thinking they have financial security, and then economy changes, jobs gone, and then you got nothing. When you go through the traditional system, which is high school, maybe college, maybe graduate degree, what you basically come out with is a hyper-focused skill set, right? Let's say you get a degree in, I don't know, accounting. That's great. You go, you're an accountant. So you can make money if the economy is looking for more accountants, if you don't burn out in that field. We're teaching you a skill that's so broad-based that, let's just say you get sick of what you're doing now. You get sick of where you live. You could go move to Sweden and do this in Sweden.
You could.
Home sharing is in how many countries is Airbnb and VRBO in now?
191 countries for Airbnb.
So you want to travel the world, or you just want to move out of your little town, or maybe you live in a crappy area, or maybe you still live at home. We are giving this to you free right now.
You know what one of my students did? I'm going to throw this in there.
Yep.
He found a Airstream trailer, one of those chrome trailers sitting in somebody's driveway.
Yep.
Said, how much would it cost to rent that? I said, $200. Turn around, put it on Airbnb, is making about $2,500 to $3,000 on it. So that doesn't even own it.
Yep.
It's someone else's
Yeah,
trailer.
you find all these old people that got these Winnebagos,
Yeah.
and say, because if you go on Airbnb now, they're like unconventional tents.
Oh, yeah.
I saw one
Yurts.
if you want yurts.
Trios, isn't it?
School buses. That's
know
all
what a
one. You
yurt
can
is?
stay in a
School
school
bus.
bus.
Yeah, yurt is like
They had
you
an
get out
igloo in New York a few years ago.
I saw just a lot. People have.
just the lot.
Tents,
Or,
tents.
like you can park your.
Park your tent. Yeah.
Hey,
In my
you got.
yard.
Or a
So
boat.
here.
The
Really?
boats are big down in.
Remember, you don't have to own the lot. Listen to what I'm saying. You find somebody who has a lot, and you say, can I put this up for tents? I'll split the money. I'll do the marketing. I'll manage the people. I'll show up and make sure they don't destroy the place. In exchange, you get a contract. Make sure you get a contract. And we've been recording on how to form your own LLC, by the way. We're talking on that. Very important pro tip. If you already have your own company, or you don't have a company, don't use the existing company, and don't use your own personal name. Because if someone ever you have a home sharing management company like we're training you, somebody comes rent a room or puts up a tent in a lot, trips and falls, you want that lawsuit against your LLC, not against you. And as long as you set up your LLC, or you can use a corporation too. As long as you've set it up correctly, you'll have some protection. Not 100% protection. If you do something fraudulent or something stupid like, I don't know, you put marbles outside the tent, so when they walk out as a prank and they flip and fall, you may not be protected. But assuming you're not a
Uber for
moron.
prostitutes.
Yeah, don't do Uber for prostitutes. That was one of the things. Speaking of that, how much time more do we have on Instagram?
Exactly.
It hasn't.
Here, check Twitter.
Check Twitter.
What's the time?
51.
Harold said, this is
I got 9
awesome. Many people learn to you, Ty, or from me. I think this is it. By the way, I get a lot of people in other countries like Brazil, India, places like this. Still will work because tourists are coming into those places.
Someone even messaged me on Instagram from Mexico, and he's like, "I'm doing this in Mexico, and I want to let me know when the program's available because I want to do this in the U.S. too."
Yeah.
I was rafting in Costa Rica, and the raft guide, who spoke almost no English, was translating to me, and he said, "My home is right here on the river. I'm thinking about doing Airbnb." And I was like, "How much do you pay in rent?" And he's like, "I don't know, $180 a month." I was like, "I'm a gringo. I'd pay $75 a night to stay there." He
Yeah.
was like, "Really?" So yeah, he was going to do Airbnb down there.
The only people are going to lose from this whole system as this grows and we build this whole movement is Hilton Hotels, Marriott, but forget them. No one cares about corporations anymore. All right, let's pick 2 more nominees because I'm going to go over to my Instagram story. We're going to keep recording here. We're recording like a couple hours of free content for people listening later or people watching. If you can't afford to get in the private test group, we're doing this for you. So we're helping people who can't afford. For those of you who can pay a little bit of money, we've got a private training group. It's a 4-month certification program, how to build your own home sharing management company. So let's pick, who's got an idea? It can be any idea that exists. It must be very specific.
I got a hair salon for men to keep balding men from shaving streaks into their hair. So anything, to help out balding men.
Zach wants to help. That's very specific. Brain pills for concentration or memory. Let's see. I'm just going to read some out, and we're the judges. It's $1,000 to who wins who today, and then a chance this Friday to win $10,000 on my next episode. Multi-language voice translator. Uber for personal trainers. Organic CBD oil. Okay. Let's see here. You know what we need to do in the future? Can you guys have one window with 4 tabs at the top? And it's too hard this way. Yeah, I hate
I can do that.
Macs. It's like, no, because I'm doing this right now. Because it's annoying. I like some things about Apple. I like iPhones. But some things are just so annoying in their interface, I swear. Like, where's Twitter? Okay. Dog treat subscription box. Anybody who likes any idea, just yell it out. Anybody like that one? Sex education program. That's called Pornhub nowadays, I think, for most people. Yoga scented mats. Does that mean it's a mat that's scented like strawberry or like a mat that's scented like sweaty
like
people doing yoga? Because that one's not going to go well. Bellboy Company. Halal fast food in America. We already have vegan fast food. Keto juice. Isn't keto juice water? There's no carbs in water. Bowling machine for cricket. You're not going to do well in an American thing when you're voting on anything. Americans know nothing about cricket. I've tried to get people, cricket is like rugby. I used to live in New Zealand. You try to explain rugby to an American, it just looks like the guy, whenever he's about to get tackled, just kicks the ball. Americans are like, what? They call it gridiron. We like somebody to get smashed. I mean, they do get smashed in rugby, but when I was in New Zealand, Zach, this is what the New Zealanders say about American football players. They go, these guys are wimpy because they have to wear pads and a helmet. And I go, no, they're so big. If they didn't if you've ever met a pro football player, the last word out of your mouth would be wimpy. These dudes some of these guys, there's guys that are 300 pounds that can run a 40-yard dash faster than anyone in history could in the 60s. Wow. You get hit.
Getting hit by one player in the NFL is equivalent to running headfirst into a garage door 30 times.
Yeah, Zach said they did some scientific thing. Getting hit by a football player once, a big lineman, is like running into a garage door 30 times in a row.
Without a helmet.
Without a helmet, yeah. No.
People keep saying put an ATM
ATM near
near the Airbnb.
the Airbnb. Is that
Collect fees.
Yeah.
okay? ATM machine. We'll put that. Write these down. We've got 3 so far. Write it down for me.
I've seen about 4 people post it.
But you just pick one.
I'm actually.
Do you guys have 1 and 2? We need 4
That's a solid
nominations.
idea.
Did you?
We have the two.
ATM fees.
And that's the third. He's going to get us in. We need one more.
Course on that, too,
Tinder for influencers.
on how to do that.
Small personal robot music player. You mean Spotify? It's kind of like a robot. I don't know. Or you mean like a robot that goes around your house? What? I don't like that one. An app like Tinder, but for friends. So when you move to it, they've tried that Tinder friend thing. It doesn't have the drive and the juice. Hey, are you really excited about meeting strangers and becoming friends with them? No. It's only dating that works, I think. Esports agency. Yeah, what do you think of esports agency? People like esports. I think there's a lot of potential in it. Plant seed cigarettes. You smoke seeds? Okay, sounds like a cannabis business. Online school site to share your assignments worldwide. You mean an online school site to cheat? Globalcheating.com. Food smelling app. Oh, wait, what is that?
Smelling out.
Video gamers. Remember when I said it can't be generic? You can't say video games. That doesn't. Business app. I said don't be generic. Someone said business. I told him yesterday, Zach, the thing about The Office. What's your strengths and weaknesses? Weaknesses, eczema. Account strengths, accounts. Video freelancing, app to score relationships.
90 seconds on Instagram.
All right, Instagram. Don't come right back on. We're going to go live. We can only have an hour on Insta, but we're going to go live again. If you want to see who's winning $1,000, and then this Friday who has a chance at the 10,000. This is 10,000 right here. So 1,000 of it's going today, 10 of these, and 100 of these are going on Friday. Renting a piece.
Massaging sneakers.
All right, do we like
that
that?
means.
Unanimous? Anybody?
No.
No, I don't think.
All right, I got to know. An eczema app. Invest on medical stuff. Vegan protein shakes. I actually own a business that does that. Leasing company for small items like shoes. They do that in Brazil. In Brazil, you can put anything on a payment plan, including toothpaste. A bottle of a thing of toothpaste, a tube.
Wow.
People be paying 10 cents a month for 2 years.
Colgate.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Boob rating app. Remember that whatever happened to Hot or Not?
Instagram?
Yeah, boob rating app. That's called Instagram right there. And the votes are the rating. Digital glasses. Snapchat tried that and lost their shirt on it. Finding local investors. Okay, it has to be a business idea. You can't just use a verb. Breathing. Automatic multiple. Somebody's really stuck on language translation. Google does have a badass Google translator. I guess you could have a condom machines on universities. Do they have? They have those, right? In bathrooms?
Even bars, too.
Yeah.
They even have those
In
at
bars? Yeah.
On
Computer
campus.
peripheral selling machine. Did you get that third one? Okay, I'm gonna post right now on my Insta story. Go vote right now. I'm gonna post right now on my Insta story the first two. What were the first two? Oh shoot. We got 7,500 people live on Instagram.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people watch this show. We're probably gonna get like 100,000
That's a
people.
lot.
I did my first episode, got 500,000 people. Shark Tank only gets like 1 or 2 million back then. I don't know what Shark Tank gets now. We're not competing with Shark Tank, Mark. I know a few of the Shark Tank got Damon John and all. We're not competing with you. This is just a little social media show. It's different. All right, you got a chance to vote. Who's going to get the $1,000? Who's got the best business idea? Which of these business ideas should I invest in? There's 2. Whoever, I'm going to post 4, but let's vote on the first 2. Which of these ideas do you like most? Okay, can you put this in on my phone real quick here? Just do it right there. Just put, you know how to do a poll?
Yes.
Zach, let Zach do it actually. Okay. Let's go back to do some training. We're going to start the first round of votes on 2, and we'll do another 2. We'll announce who wins $1,000. Okay. Phase 1, first property. We talked about that. Start with your home or a friend of a friend's home. Start with an RV. Start with a lot. If you already own some real estate, start with that. Phase 2, let's talk about scaling this thing. Let's talk about scaling real estate. All 5 of us have scaled real estate. I do it more in raw land development. This year I bought about, I think I just closed 680 acres total land. So it's a lot of land. It's like 1 mile square. Not all in one place. in multiple areas. I'm working on doing some building homes, things like that. You've scaled from making $5,000 your first year, 1.1 million. You've scaled, you've got 60 properties. You've scaled, you've got now scaling up into the $1 million Scottsdale market. He went to the bathroom, but he's scaled up too. So what does it take to just go from one property? What's the pitfalls you've seen in your own kind of game where all of a sudden it gets too complicated? And it's great, you're making 1 or 2,000 with one property, but when you have like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, you start not being able to manage your time. When do you hire an assistant? Like, what do you do to scale this thing?
Running your own hotel, it's kind of like a distributed hotel. So you got to have a front desk.
Okay.
Because all these guests are going to be reaching out to you all the time, asking for have
Wait,
questions.
hold on one second. Airbnb business? That's not that descriptive. Okay, I got to reshoot this. Let me delete this. I thought it was.
It was just like basically.
But Airbnb business just sounds like Airbnb property management business, it has to say. Okay, let me shoot this again, sorry. Okay, I'm giving away money, $1,000 today, plus 10,000 chance. This is my investor show, we're live right here, but we're doing the poll on my Insta story. Vote, which of these 2 ideas that 2 of my followers had, which of them should I invest in? Okay, let me, come here for a second, so you talk for a second, I'm gonna go. Tell them about scaling.
All right, so when you scale, you're going to be basically, 1 or 2 listings is no big deal. It's easy to do. But once you start getting a whole bunch of listings, you're basically running a hotel. You've got all these guests coming and going. So imagine, you've got dozens of guests checking in, checking out every single day. Somebody's got to respond to those guests. Somebody's got to get the properties cleaned. This is a thing. Well, you could run it all yourself, or you can outsource all of it. Because I didn't want to start my business to be a hotel manager, essentially. So what I started doing was finding ways that I could start outsourcing every aspect of the day-to-day business. So you can do that by outsourcing either through VAs, virtual assistants, or you can actually hire services now that will manage all of your B&Bs. So when you get to a certain level, not in the very beginning, when you get to a certain level, then you're going to outsource managing your listings. And those services are going to also manage the cleanings on the properties. So it allows you to basically work very, very part-time hours and manage unlimited numbers of listings. This is what all the big operators do. So the top 1% of people that are on Airbnb, the top 1% on VRBO, that are making multiple 6 figures or even 7 figures, that's what they're doing.
Okay.
Yep.
And you could do that relatively inexpensively because,
Yeah.
like, we've got a gal in the Philippines that
Yeah.
she handles a lot of, stuff for us.
$5 an hour?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So
Yeah.
You don't have to think that it has to be like, okay, now I've got to get an office, I've got to hire someone, it's got to be local.
It's a few bucks an hour, yeah. And nowadays there's people like on Upwork and all these different websites you can hire very inexpensively, and that's what they do. They actually advertise, I am an Airbnb manager. And you hire them at $5 an hour to kind of watch your account. And so you're bringing in, I don't know, 10 grand a month, and you're paying out a few hundred for somebody to manage it all, and that's how you do it.
Yeah, that's great. And we have, for different parts of my businesses, I use offshore stuff.
Yep.
I have a lot of employees in the United States, but I've had an office in China for years doing tech. Guys, in fact, the best programmers I've ever found, I've never met. So they call this, basically, it used to be called outsourced. There's different names for it. But I think the Philippines is a great place because they speak pretty good English.
That's the key. You gotta have somebody that speaks
You
English.
don't want China is not a great place because most Chinese people do not know any English.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
It depends if they're going to answer phone calls, because you can do everything through the app, so it's all messaging. They don't have to be able
It's
to speak
great
well.
to answer
But you
phones
got to
if
have
you
somebody
can.
to pick up the phone.
Because remember, people are getting ready. They're on Airbnb, they're on VRBO, and they go, okay, do I trust this person? So let's talk about in your marketing of your properties. How do you make people trust you that are flying in from another state or country? You have good pictures. We've
Yeah, for
covered
sure.
that.
That's number one.
But do you think answering the phone can help? Because I was in the UK and I was gonna do Airbnb, and I couldn't. One of the properties, it was an expensive one. It was like $1,500 a night.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't answer the phone, or there's no contact, and I was like, I'll just get a hotel.
Yeah. Reviews.
on
Yeah,
Airbnb.
exactly.
Yeah,
People
reviews
trust
are
you.
great.
People
Yeah.
trust you because you have a bunch of
They
good
didn't have
reviews.
any reviews on that one.
Okay, that's sketchy.
So I'm like, I ain't gonna be the first person to do. No, they had like one review. It looked like their grandma wrote it. It's like, my sonny is a great grandson is a great landlord.
Well,
Rented it
it
themselves.
tells you their response time too,
Does
right?
tell you.
So I pick when I do Airbnbs, I look at the response time to
Short
see how
response
quick they reply.
Airbnb actually prefers hosts that respond within 10 minutes. That also helps rank up your listing. So I mean, push notifications. Obviously, Brian, we talked about using VAs, virtual assistants, people who you can outsource to, as Ty was just talking on. And then one, as you grow, is Guesty, Guesty.com.
Yeah, guesty.com.
Yeah, they'll take care of everything.
So let's talk about Guesty. Tell people who've never heard of this before.
So they'll take anywhere from 3 to 10% ish. Is that what it is per
Yeah.
booking? So it's not per month, and you need to have X amount. But when you started, you were saying it was 3 properties.
They've increased it so when you got 10 or more listings, then you can go to a service like Guesty, and they will
Correct.
handle everything. Literally, it's totally hands off.
Yeah, yeah. So you can automate your business. You may be spending an hour, a week doing this, just making sure that the cleaning is in place and your properties are doing great.
Yeah, but a VA is a good way to start for somebody who just has a couple listings.
Yeah, if you just have one or two.
Yeah.
And where did you find your VAs? Did you go Upwork? Yeah, Upwork's
yeah.
a great place. If you've never used Upwork, you create an account, gives you access to a literal global set of service providers for everything. You can get designers, logos built. You can use 99 Designs. A friend of mine started that to build logos and website design. But you don't even need to get that advanced because you're going off Airbnb. Now let's talk about some non-Airbnb because this isn't only an Airbnb strategy. Let's talk about VRBO. Have you
Okay.
used some of those?
Yeah, VRBO is going to be for a lot of your higher end properties are definitely going to pop up on VRBO. Airbnb allows you to do rooms. You can't do rooms on VRBO.
Yes.
Airbnb also has lower fees. Airbnb is by far the largest market leader in the space, but there's money to be made on all the platforms.
Yeah.
I specialize primarily in teaching Airbnb,
Yep.
but I'm just now learning and getting to know VRBO a little
Yeah.
more.
What are there others besides VRBO?
HomeAway and VRBO have now merged. They've got the same company, but
Yep.
you've got Booking.com. You've got a lot of other ones coming into the space. Airbnb allows you to kind of go beyond just property. So you could do yachts, you could do all these weird things, tree houses.
Yep.
Whereas VRBO is going to be more your vacation, stands for vacation rental by owner. So that's going to be like you go to the beach, you rent a beach house, it's going to be VRBO.
That makes sense.
Grant Cardone just joined.
Grant! GC!
Gotcha.
Let me see. How do
What's
I
up, Grant?
here? Let me bring him on. Let me see if I can. You want to bring me that phone? Grant, we're talking about some new real estate, little real estate strategies, home sharing marketing company, a new test group I launched. I'm headed out there, by the way, to Grant Cardone's 10X. Let me say hello. Yeah, I'll flip it around. Where is Grant? Well, now I lost him. How much real estate do you boys own? Well, as I told you, I bought about 600. Grant Cardone, people call him Uncle G. He's an OG in real estate. I'm developing about 600, 700 acres. Combine this group, well, these two have done about 5.5 million. They've grossed from their properties, but obviously they're not on your level.
Everything I've done was with someone else's property,
Yeah.
other people's properties until just recently.
My friend Brad here has 60 units that he has in Raleigh, North Carolina. About 60?
Yep.
Yeah. So, you there, Grant? Oh, I forgot to scroll up. So, Grant, by the way, if you don't have a ticket to 10X, you should head. There we go. Grant Cardone said 10X it, baby. He's going to 600. But if you guys don't have a ticket to Grant Cardone's, I'm going to be there. There's about, I think, over 30,000 people going to be there. It's February 2nd or something. So I hope you guys will show up. And I think it's now the biggest business networking event in the world, isn't it? The biggest event? Grant,
officially now.
Grant likes to go big, man.
By far.
Grant likes to go big. So, anyway, thought I'd say hello to Grant. All right, let's go back to what we're talking about. So you got the home sharing, you've got VRBO, you got HomeAway. Oh, is this mine though, where I can see my stats? There we go. I mean, there.
Invite him in.
Oh, here, Grant. All right, Grant wants to come in. Let me see. Zach's got my Instagram phone stuck. Now, the only problem, Grant, not everybody's going to see this because we're streaming live. We need our big TV up here.
Invite me in, son.
Here, let me do it. I can do it, Zach.
Is that what he say?
I know how to do it.
This is invite me in, son.
Scrolling back.
Yeah, I'll find it. Okay. Yeah, don't close it because it says, where is Grant? All right, you just got to go up here. Da-da-da-da-da. Let's get some people on. Is this the one that you're on live on, right?
Yep.
Oh, wait. It should be pointing towards my face. There he is. Grant, you down in Florida? Where are you? Go live with... You guys see Grant? Oh, there he is. Grant. There we go. Waiting for Grant Cardone.
What's going on, handsome?
What's up? I'm uncomfortable with that name.
How you doing, brother?
Good. We got some people in the game here. Say hello.
What's happening, man?
What's going on, Grant?
I'm gonna point it so everyone can see you on our other cameras. So we got Grant Cardone, he's kind of the OG of real estate and real estate training. Grant, how many units you got now? 2 million? 5,000 units.
Can you hear me?
Brad got 60, so he's got
I'm coming after you.
4 or 5,000. So everybody here needs the 10 exit, Grant.
100 exit.
Hey, let's talk real quick about your 10X conference, because not everybody here. I got about total about.
Hey, I got 400 vacant units.
400 vacant. Hey, I know what we can do with those, Grant.
These guys are experts in Airbnb doing home sharing stuff.
Let me fill them for you. Let me increase your revenue by 300%, Grant. I can fill those.
He's gonna home share them for you.
home
Put
share
them
all
up
of
on
them.
Airbnb.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have to
Connection. What
call
is the connection?
Grant, our connection. We'll bring you on next time. Our connection's a little crazy. It froze on your face looking angry at me.
He's smiling.
Oh, there he is. Go to grantcardone.com. I want to see all of you there. I think the capacity is like 32,000. Give this back to him.
Okay.
32,000. So they might be sold out of tickets. But if not, I'm not just saying that. I don't get paid on any of the tickets sold, by the way. So I'm not saying this out of any greed. I'll be up on stage, so I guess there is some greed there, you know. But it's a 3-day, I think it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they've got some real estate training also on, I think there's a Monday mastermind. I'm not involved in that, but let me just tell you this real quick to all of you listening in here. You know, this is my investor show. I'm gonna have Grant back on. I've had Grant on a few times. Very important that you understand 200 years ago, 1800s, not quite 200 years, people started realizing that, because this is really the rise of the entrepreneur. In the 1500s, there weren't that many entrepreneurs because you had serfdom and you couldn't own land and all that. But, you know, the rise of modern day, let's say, capitalism or entrepreneurialism, people started realizing, where do we invest money? And the first place is in your own brain. The second place is in relationships. The third place is in actual properties and businesses. So what do I mean by that? The first is in your own brain. What can you do with that? Books, programs, conferences, audiobooks, magazines. I spend at least, I have one of my 67 steps, which I recorded in 2014, I spend $35,000, I think $32,000 a year on books. And people think that's crazy. That's a big book budget. And I'm sure it's higher now. This month, because I'm equipping, I got a new place here, this place in New York, and I got another place in New York. So now I live in over 5, I got basically 5 homes right now that I live in, that I rotate around. And I like to equip them with the same library in every place. And my library to fill up, it costs me probably like 10 grand, 5 to 10 grand. So Jacob knows, he's been right there buying $1,000 worth of book one day on Amazon, 1,000. I haven't even filled up this library. So That's what I mean by investing in your brain. These programs, SMMA, Grant Cardone has his Grant Cardone University, conferences, I do conferences, all these people, there's lots of people doing it. Go to as many as you can, okay? The second thing, invest in relationships. What I mean by that is like, here's 4 people, 4 of us, right? 4 of them that I've flown in, not just to teach in the program, but also so I can build relationships with people, because no matter how smart you think you are, Zach knows something I don't know. Brad knows something I don't know. Brian knows something. Brady. Everybody, you never get to a place, especially in business, but making money. There's too many things to be good at. I've never met somebody. In fact, Warren Buffett, who's the best businessman in the world by far, ever probably, he says he only has a small circle of competence and he stays in that circle of competence. And then he surrounds himself with other sharp people, like Charlie Munger, his business partner, who is a lawyer. And Warren Buffett said, I wouldn't be so rich if I didn't have this business partner, because he knew the law. So he had that relationship. You know, then the head of the underwriting for Geico that Warren Buffett owns is this guy, I can't pronounce his name, but he pays him. That guy makes like $100 million a year because he single-handedly built like a company with probably $1 trillion in assets. Trillion. So Warren Buffett invested in that relationship, and he built that guy. You know, he took them and trained them and helped them. So when you go to these conferences, whether it be Grant Cardone's or any one that you go to, you're investing in the second and third pillar here, because you're getting your brain, you're building the first and second, sorry. Then the third part to build the pillar is in your actual business. You got to put money to get up your Airbnb, to build your website, to run some Facebook ads. You like to buy properties and actually build homes on it. I like to buy raw land and develop it out. That's only the third part. So where a lot of people go wrong is they go, well, I got a college degree. That's great, but that was only good for then. You're not in college anymore, most of you. So you can't be 30 and go, well, I got a college degree back 8 years ago. 8 years ago, the world wasn't even the same place. 8 years ago, Sears was still in business. So was Toys R Us. 8 years ago, Kodak was still a company. Now it's bankrupt and replaced by Instagram. 8 years ago only. 8 years ago is 2011. I mean, 10 years ago, MySpace was still around. 20 years ago, people were laughing at Jeff Bezos with Amazon. So if you went to college 20 years ago, you learned in that paradigm of thought. That ain't going to get you anywhere. And as Warren Buffett says, what made him money in 1977 didn't make him money in 1978. And what made him money in 2017 didn't make him money in 2018, and so forth. It's still, you can have some money, but he's saying be a lifelong learner. So you guys got to be a lifelong learner, a lifelong networker, and then that'll bring you the money to start investing in properties. By the way, you guys want to know, well, okay, let's do a little wager. Which one do you think's winning on my Instagram story?
What were the 2 again?
The 2 right now, we're going to do one more semifinal, was, actually, I think we're just going to do these 2 for today. It gets too complicated. So which one? I'm going to announce the $1,000 winner. You get 10 of these. Not 10 of the stacks, but you get $1,000. What's your, drum roll please, Zach. You ever seen
that? Look up a sound effect.
Yeah, do your sound effect. No, Zach has a sound effect. He always does fart noises and all this stuff.
We gotta get Zach moving, so.
Yeah, Zach.
Giving away money,
I see that. Don't look. Nobody can look. If you haven't voted, go to my Instagram story. It's @TyLopez. Follow me. You'll see my story. And just vote real quick on the 2 options are vegan fast food. What business should I invest in? Vegan fast food or an Airbnb rental company? Drum roll.
It goes for a long time.
All right. And what do you say, Zach?
Fast food, vegan, fast food.
You say fast food, vegan?
I'm going ATM.
No, we just did Airbnb business or vegan fast food.
Vegan.
Vegan?
Airbnb.
Airbnb. I mean, we got
Yeah.
I love that.
And the winner is 60% Airbnb.
Yeah.
40%. Okay, what was the person's name who did the Airbnb?
Daniel
Oh yeah, I was like Daniel
Birmingham.
Daniel Birmingham, you were on YouTube. We're PayPaling you $1,000 this week. Plus, more importantly, Friday, you're going to be in the semifinals with 2 to 4 other people, ideas, for this stack of $10,000.
Nice.
And by the way, what could somebody do with $10,000 to start their own HSMC?
A lot.
Yeah.
That would get you a couple listings easily.
Easily. 3 to 4.
Yep.
3 to 4.
So, yeah. Congratulations. If you didn't win, don't worry. I'll be back on here this week. We'll be doing more. We'll be doing more of this. Okay, I want to talk. So phase 2 was scaling out, how you get people helping you. Let's talk about accounting and legal stuff. Kind of boring, but important. Forming an LLC, what you're doing. Is there any special accounting? Let's talk. You're in Canada, so there's some business licenses needed. Zach, why don't you talk about what you did in real estate? You use LLCs?
Yeah, so I use LLCs. When I first started off, I created my own LLC, and it's real simple. You pretty much just need about 3 or 4 things. You need an EIN number, which is pretty much a social security number for your business. So a lot of people don't understand that when you create an LLC, it's almost like creating like a person. And it has its own tax number, kind of like everyone has a social security number. Your LLC has an EIN number, and it only takes like 5-10 minutes, worst case scenario 15 minutes to make an EIN number. You just go to irs.gov, and you can just Google search EIN number irs.gov, and it'll pop up. It'll say apply for an EIN number. You just apply for an EIN number. And then second step, since I'm from California, I'll use Articles of Organization. So you just go to the state website, California Secretary of State. You just Google Articles of Organization for California, and then the government website will pop up, and it has a downloadable PDF. That only takes like 10 minutes. You just download the PDF, and then you just answer like 10 questions. And then you send the Secretary of State that paper filled out with the check. And then within maybe like, worst case scenario, let's say 30 days, they send that same letter back to you with the stamp. So now you have your Articles of Organization. In the meantime, when you're waiting for that to come back, you could just create an operating agreement. And create an operating agreement shouldn't be more than like $20. You can use like LegalZoom.com. And when you go on LegalZoom, they give you a bunch of options, and you just click create operating agreement. And it's very, it's very generic, but just to get things started, you can do that. So it shouldn't cost more than like $100 to create an LLC. And then once you start generating more income, let's say $10,000 annually, which is a very small amount, which you can do. Once you start doing that, then you can have an attorney create a new operating agreement for you. And that's pretty much the only thing you're going to need is pretty much a new operating agreement. So it's you could start up your own LLC with under $100, and it should only take maybe an hour of your time.
And let me give a little disclaimer here. That's for California, what's worked for Zach. The best thing you can kind of use his basic template, but talk to a lawyer. Here's the deal. If you don't have much money, go up to a lawyer who's like maybe fresh out of law school and say, hey, I'm going to be doing a lot of these. If you do the first one for me for like cheap or even free, just a quick LLC and help me get the operating agreement, I'll do all my deals with you for the next year. And so if you don't have much money, a lot of lawyers, especially if you find somebody who knows, it's so easy for them to do. They'll give you a template that you may want to modify the operating agreement just a little bit. That's a great way. So you can also use LegalZoom. There's a few companies that are out there that'll help you. Someone said, Ty, should I trademark my business before I put it on Facebook? Differing opinions. Here's the thing about trademark. A lot of times you can't get a trademark till you're in commerce. So meaning if you don't put it on Facebook or YouTube or somewhere, you can't get the trademark because they're like, you're not even using it. So usually, but not always, depending on what you're trying, if you're trying to trademark something bizarre like underwater basket weaving services or something, you might be able to trademark that or so. Actually, that's not a good example, but a weird word like bong de dong long long sa song or something, you might be able to get that trademark because they're like, nobody's ever used this. But if you're trying to trademark something that potentially multiple people might have used it and you've never put it up for business, that's a tougher place. So here's the deal. This is controversial, I'm about to say. Name one big current company now that's had something stolen from them. Like, for example, Mark Zuckerberg. He stole from Tom, let's say. I know Tom is a friend of mine, MySpace Tom. But there's nothing Tom could do about it because he made Facebook different enough. And we live in a non-monopolistic law country, antitrust. You can't say nobody else can ever make a social network. But Tom couldn't be that mad because Friendster was before him. And before Friendster was, you know, AOL chat rooms and all. So don't worry so much about people stealing your idea. Look, people are naming all these ideas right now. You think I'm going to steal them all? Or any of them? You think I'm going to go, oh, vegan restaurant? I mean, maybe, but do you think that person's saying, do you think nobody's ever thought of vegan fast food? By the way, there is vegan fast food in New York. There's a place by Union Square I used to go to. It's a Dutch company. They have franchises. It's fast food. It's like Chipotle for vegan. You walk, it's so good. No, not, and Veggie Grill is a franchise. So enough with the people. The only thing you want to get patents on is like chemical compounds and stuff. You know, so stop with that. People will look for any excuse to be afraid. You know, let's talk for a second on. Let me put this link back up. Who else is getting in the private test group? We're going to go for about another hour training. Let me name off some of the more people who have gotten in the group. First person to get in. What was his name?
The first person to get in. Stand by.
We saved it. Let me scroll down to this person's name.
Felipe Bruno.
Alejandro Hernandez, welcome to the group. Ricardo Lorido, welcome to the group. Wow, that's a name. Jocko Vander Merwe, welcome to the group. Christopher Soderberg, well, I bet you this Jocko one is either South African or Dutch. This stuff works in 191 countries. They have Airbnb.
Yeah.
There's only, I think, 199. What is it? Micronesia doesn't have it or something?
If you're tuning in from North Korea, you're out of luck.
Yeah, or Antarctica.
I think Syria's out.
Yeah, Syria's out. Probably Chechnya or something like that. But I wonder if it's available in Russia.
Yeah, it's in Russia. I mean, it's not doing so well in China. There's a competitor in China that's kind of doing Chinese version.
Do you know the competitor's name?
I don't know the name of it, but it's hard to crack by U.S. companies.
Yeah, don't go into China as your first thing. Okay, let's do some more practical stuff. Let's talk more about, so you take pictures of the property. What else do you need to do to get it up on a website?
You got to
of course, stage it. Well, then now they have the A+ Airbnb rating. So the
Okay.
A+ is where they want hotel-like quality and as well as exceptional hosts. Everything from the art on the wall to the rug on the floor, they want it to be in tip-top shape. So these are people typically coming from like the Ritz-Carlton, trying Airbnb, and now you're essentially boosted up in your SEO ranking as well.
Huh, so you get the ranking. How do they certify you as A+?
An actual person comes in and they base you on a 100-point criteria.
Huh.
They grade you,
Yeah.
yeah. And then you get their stamp of approval.
So all of you living in like a junky room, you don't try for the Airbnb A+ system.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that. But
No.
but
You can stage a property to look better than it is. Of
course.
The property doesn't even have to be fancy. If you can outstage a similar property that's the same kind of, you know, same unit in the same building or whatever, same kind of house. And by staging, I mean you're decorating it properly. Like I'm no decorator, but I can find somebody that knows how to decorate it and make it
there's
look
companies
amazing.
that'll do it for you.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah,
or
totally.
even the guys who flip houses, you know, after their home is all renovated, your house is already in tip-top shape. You just got to put in some good furnishing, and now you got. I mean, that's a quick, fast-track A+ right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Superhost as well.
Talk about what a superhost is.
So Superhost, you essentially, well, Airbnb has, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, they say you cannot cancel at all during the year. But if you have instant booking on, now there's a small disclaimer saying you can cancel up to 3 times a year, only if instant booking is on. You also need a 90% communication rate. You need over 10 trips reviewed, and they have to be over 80%. 5-star reviews over the last 3 months. So every quarter they do a new review. A Superhost is like an Instagram verification badge. Once you have it on there, you're trusted, and people don't question you as much. You're also on the front page.
Do you try to get instant book on your stuff?
Yes, because when you search for a listing on Airbnb, you can say I only want to stay with Superhost and I only want to stay with people that have Instabook. So if you're not Instabook, then you won't get showed up
You
in those
lose
listings.
those. Yeah.
So yeah, you want to try to aim for both of those if possible.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Yep.
I like that. And what's your take on one night stays?
I love one-night stays. What I try to do is
Same
fill every single day on the calendar. So if you have a lot of guests, they'll stay 2 or 3 nights. The average stay right now on Airbnb is 4 nights. That's actually increasing. But I like one-night stays because I want to fill every single day on the calendar. So we're going to price at different days.
Say one-night stands. It sounded like
we love one-night stands.
Zach shook his head.
One-night stays.
Oh, really?
For
That's what you.
Airbnbs.
Yeah, Zach, that'd be a great business. You want to operate a place where people come in like they used to do in the 50s, hourly hotels. That's disgusting. Yeah, Alec, you gonna then once you rent out a room in your place, Zach, then you're gonna sleep on that bed.
Oh no, I'm gonna do the airliner. I'll just rent out a little.
Do you remember?
trailer.
You remember the Office one where they go to the hotel, and Dwight Schrute brings the black light. You remember that? And they go over the room, and it's disgusting. Yeah, you may want to run a black light over wherever you go, a little infrared. see what's there. Let's take some. I haven't even been looking at my Instagram. What do we got? Zach is the. I don't even know. Hooters for women. Hooters for women. This is a restaurant idea, so guys would have big pecs, or what?
Guys
would-
walking around. That's actually pretty good.
You never know.
You could call it peckers. Hey,
There we go.
for pecs, for this. You like that idea, Zach?
I'm sure in the next
That's
few months.
good.
Ah.
Now we're on to something. I would have voted for that
That's
one.
the first time. Zach doesn't like to laugh at my jokes because it somehow it makes him feel like his jokes aren't sufficient. But that one even got Zach the joke to laugh. Okay. What about auction properties?
Auction.
Have any of you done auction?
You've done auctions.
I have attempted to purchase ones. They've never worked out, but
So you don't think it's a great starting strategy?
I
I
not to
wouldn't say
start
for
off.
home sharing. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I had a friend who bought a car. Remember when Jeremy Biggie bought a car? We had a friend, he worked at McDonald's for 2 years in the summer to save up enough money to buy a car. Zach's dad and they had a license to go buy auction cars, and so he bought it. He got his car, put $10,000. Remember that, Zach? He cried because he drove it down and the engine seized and exploded. The next day, he was just weeping. And we were 16 years old. You know Jeremy.
Yeah.
So be careful at your auctions for cars or anything.
I'll tell you a niche you can get into listed properties. So
Okay.
properties that are on the market that are just sitting there.
Yep.
You can approach the seller and say, look, let me make some money on this property for you
Yeah.
while it's on the market.
Yep.
And so they show it on the days that it's empty.
Yep.
And then you're creating revenue, and then you only book the calendar out, say 2 or 3 or 4 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
So if there's a buyer, then they got 30 days to close, then they can sell the property.
That's a great one for those of you watching right now because
I actually did
Staged
that.
properties.
I actually did
Staged.
that on one of my own.
There you go.
I was, out in Redwood City.
Yeah.
I had it listed, and I just Airbnb'd it while it was listed.
While you're waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of these properties are furnished, so you're only looking for furnished, listed properties that are on the market that aren't selling. There's a lot of them out there, and you approach the seller and you say, "Hey, look, you should make some money while that thing's sitting on the market. Let me help you. Split it 50-50.
Yeah.
I'll manage it all." That's the
So
way
if
to
you guys are liking this stuff, quick little call out here. Go to tylopez.com/HSMC Live. That stands for not Home Shopping Network. It stands for Home Sharing Management Company, HSMC Live. Get in the private test group. We've got over 10 hours of training, step by step, methodically by people who are doing it, who have done it. And we're going to go, we're going to end up with about 30, 40, 50 hours of training. I got more people flying in to train. So this is in 2016. One of my things that I'm pretty good at is identifying opportunities. That's why I'm an investor. And not just for me to invest in, but things that'll work for people that don't necessarily have a ton of money to start with. This is one of those crossroads in history, mark my words. 10 years from now, Airbnb is going to transform the whole landscape of real estate. And if you get in here at the beginning, there's money to be made. There's jobs that you hate to be quit. There's homes to be paid off for free by the revenue that you get. So you end up owning 10 houses. in 5 years or 3 years even, or even you got properties that'll pay it for themselves in 2 years.
We're estimating 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years you own a home instead of 30-year mortgage. That's enough to just like boggle your mind.
That's $3,000 per month after it's paid off.
Yeah, then you own it and it's
3,000
making you
for life. Yeah.
So imagine you have 5 of those properties, 10 of those properties, you're making 15 to 30,000 paid off. Only thing you got to pay is taxes. So, and you got houses to live in. You can also live in these too. That's people are forgetting that.
Somebody was asking about tiny homes. I seen.
Yeah, tiny
Homes are great.
Yep, that's a business that I'm going to be getting into. I've got Amish that'll build tiny homes for me in Ohio and Virginia.
Tree houses are extremely
I just
lucrative.
bought a tiny home for one of my places.
Yeah.
But I'm going to put chickens in this one. But I'm buying another tiny home that I'm actually putting some
Are they
property
big?
managers I have. No, but I'm going to put I'm going to use it as a brooder. It's not real. What'd you say? Is it big chickens?
Are they paying? Right?
Oh, are they paying? Yeah, the chickens, I charge them $1 per chick. Yeah, so go ahead. What were you saying?
Tree houses are very lucrative.
Tree houses are
Tree houses are
lucrative. Okay.
extremely lucrative. In fact, Airbnb themselves said, please build more tree houses because everybody wants to stay in these tree houses and people are making a fortune. Yeah, the number one listing on Airbnb is a tree house.
Wow.
With like the little walkways with the bridges and everything, and
They're not worried about liability. Talk about a lie. Yeah, you get big fat Americans. Hey, you want to? The tree starts to bow. The branch snaps. Hey, there's some American families that will snap a large oak tree branch. I promise you. You'll have to put you'll have like little props under the branch.
We've been talking about kind of the money you can make from the cash flow from that, but we really haven't talked about the other elements
Equities.
of equity, depreciation that you can offset. other
let's
taxes.
talk about that. That's important.
Yeah, so basically if you own a home, tax law says that you can depreciate that home over 27 and a half years. So if let's say you have a $300,000 house, it's literally a $10,000 write-off that you can take off. Now, you still get to keep the money, but it just helps to reduce your tax burden. So, when you account for that, if you don't pay cash for a home, if you've got to finance it, you could take all the interest off your taxes. And so, when you start to think about that, you start to think about appreciation, that typically the home's going to appreciate 4%. And that's why I love real estate so much, because there's so many different angles in making money.
Yeah, and you're right. Building equity, that's how you're going to build wealth on top of the cash flow.
Yeah.
So if you don't have any money, you can use someone else's property and create a cash flow stream. But if you're already a real estate investor and you want to buy, you're going to pay down the debt quickly, and the equity, of course, increases, and you build wealth that way.
Yeah, remember, in the long term, this is a plan to you owning real estate. This is a way to get into real estate with no money down for those of you who are just starting out and broke. Yeah. But the long term, you want to own. Remember how I said you invest in 3 things? You invest in your own brain, you invest in relationships and networking, and then you invest in assets over time. I really should maybe break that out. 4 things. 1, 2, third is cash flow.
Cash flow.
See, cash flow comes before assets. Before you own assets, for example, you could take your parents' or a friend's empty home, rent it out. You have no asset there. The only asset you have is the cash flow. So technically, a stream of cash flow can be considered an asset. But if we want to be technical, the 4 stages are investing in your brain, investing in who you know in your network, and then getting some cash flow going. And then it comes to the more advanced stuff like Brad is talking about, which is once you own assets, there's then strategy. Look, I live here on Billionaire Row. This is called Billionaire Row, 57th and this part of New York right here, okay? There's a lot of money on I think they call it Billionaire Row because it's the most billionaires in the world concentrated in one place. A lot of these people, a lot of these Chinese billionaires don't live in any of these condos. but don't approach them and say, hey, I can make you extra $1,000 a month. Okay. But the reason I'm bringing up Billionaires Row here is that billionaires learn things that they don't teach in school, which is what Brad's talking about, and we're training in the program how to use depreciation. Right? How to use depreciation, how to get tax. Real estate has basically real estate and business, which an HSMC is a business. Most tax write-offs in the world is from business.
That's right.
But even more than real estate. But if you run your real estate as a business, now you get the best of all the business deductions, travel deduction, all that kind of stuff. and deducting. There's deductions on weird things like really expensive, really big SUVs, equipment, laptops, this kind of stuff. But
Yeah,
then
they actually just updated Section 179 is what you're
Yep.
talking about. With I think they updated that recently. So where now when you furnish the home, so let's say you move from that asset and you want to furnish the home, you can take accelerated depreciation and on that all those home furnishings for your Airbnb and take that in that year, even if you finance those that furniture over multiple years.
yeah. And then of course, your real estate has something cool called 1031 exchange, where you can like kind exchange things. I have a friend who just sold a property for, I should look it up, but it's a really famous guy. I won't say his name, but he just told me he needed to flip it into a $6 million property, or 6 or 16 million. He just bought a place in Bel Air, and he paid no taxes, depending on how your depreciation structure is. But you get basically the simplest way for those of you who are new, because they don't teach us in school. Nobody ever took a high school class called depreciation or 1031 exchange. If they just changed high school and said, who wants to be a millionaire? People would go, I take that you have little electives. You would take that elective, but the way they do it is like boring, like finance. Like nobody wants to learn finance. People want to learn how to be rich.
Yeah.
So if you did that, all of a sudden people will come to the class and you could teach a depreciation. The number one way people actually learn depreciation, 1031 exchange, Section 179, all this stuff, is by starting to make money, and then you write your first big check for taxes, and you're like, I just wrote a check I'm like, I have a friend, he goes, the most depressing day of my year is always April 15th. This guy makes a lot of money. I'm like, don't be greedy. This guy makes hundreds of millions. But he's like, it's not fair that I got to pay this much, whatever.
One other thing you were talking about is, we were talking about paying off the property as fast as possible. That sometimes, and I think one thing you realize is a lot of stuff that seems one way is kind of counterintuitive the other way. So you got to think of cost of funds.
Yes.
So I talk about it in the class, but when I went out and I wanted to purchase a RV, so we like to go camping, and just as kind of messing around, I told my parents, I was like, I'm going to purchase a RV, finance it over 20 years, which is going to cost me $60,000 in interest. And they said, you're crazy. And I said, well, watch this. And actually took that and turned that, I leveraged the cost of funds there and turned it into about $500,000 of real estate that way.
Yeah,
And
he's
so,
basically saying if you can borrow money at 4%,
Right.
and you can invest your own cash at 14%, then you're making the arbitrage spread on this. And so, the reason, it's more about your risk profile. Some of you don't like any risk. You don't care about money. You feel good owning 3 properties free and clear. If you're more like a swashbuckler, pirate, moneymaker, like Brad, you're going to be like, no, I'll pay. I'm more like
Leverage
him.
is great, but it can cut against you at the same time.
Sure, but I think that it really comes down to risk is knowledge. Like you can avoid risk with knowledge. There's a lot of things that you can do that the more knowledgeable you are on something, you say, okay, I know that I can then hedge my bets here, or I wouldn't have necessarily done that if I'm over leveraged over here, that if the bank's called the note, then I'm stuck and can't get out of. So I think the more people kind of get educated in places like this, then all of a sudden they can start and say, all right, I'm expanding that risk a little bit more.
Yeah. And as you evolve through different levels, so you're totally beginner, you're just trying to figure out how to make your first $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 doing this, there's one model. And then you graduate to another, which might be, I'm going to start building wealth through real estate. That's another model of acquisition. So you could manage properties, you could do master leasing of properties, or you could do acquisition. There's 3 different levels to do this. And not every level is right for every person, but you could certainly learn all of them over time.
Real estate has probably the most, well, I don't know what to say about the most, but it has a tremendous amount of strategies. There's the guy that I told you that's a mentor of mine that's made over $1 billion net in real estate. He did it mostly with mobile homes, mobile home parks. So you have a mobile home park strategy. If you look at someone like Grant Cardone that has 4,000 or 5,000 units, he likes multi-unit property. So he doesn't own 4,000 or 5,000 individual homes.
Multifamily,
Yeah. He owns basically apartment buildings. This is simple. I've got one of my students in my mastermind. She owns a couple hundred commercial real estate. So that's commercial where you own like your rent out your property to Starbucks, McDonald's, things like that. There's other people. I'm working on a deal in a shopping center. You got people. The guy that did mobile homes, he also did shopping centers. That was his second strategy.
Self-storage, maybe.
Now, shopping centers is not for this talk, but let me tell you, because of the fact that Amazon is making stores go bankrupt, like Sears, like all of a sudden, everybody who owns shopping centers is freaked out.
For sale, right?
But you know what you can do with shopping centers? You put residences in them. I just read a fascinating, this is the future. I'm actually looking at a shopping center somebody offered me down in Virginia to put residential property into it. Because now people like living in the city in like a mixed unit, like the Grove in Los Angeles and Hollywood. I also live in California. The Grove's a beautiful place. Now, the Grove themselves, they don't have property right on it, but right next door, there's these cool apartments, and you just walk, you got a movie theater, you got a bookstore, you have the fountain you can sit in front of, eat ice cream. That's the future of shopping centers, and some of you, mark my words, that are getting in this HSMC program as your beginning introduction to real estate, or your maybe not a beginner, but is your start? Oh, my mic died? Yeah. Let me use your mic one quick. When did it just die, right now?
Just then. Yeah.
This acts like you stole my joke because I have the microphone. What I was going to say is some of you eventually are going to own a shopping center that you're going to turn into a multi-unit like what Grant Cardone and commercial, and you may have home sharing inside of it.
Good stuff.
And you can put a mobile home park
And you're
out in the back.
anchor it with a Peckers on the end.
And you have a restaurant in there. There you go. And you can do what I do, which is I buy more agricultural land, farmland, and I don't necessarily develop it. A lot of it I put in conservation stuff, and I own a food. I do the most old school thing in the world. Use land for its originally real estate was to have a ranch and produce. And we have a company called FarmersBox Grass-Fed Brands, where we're selling food off land. So believe it or not, land can also be used agriculture. In fact, here's a question for you. All you listening, I got a little bonus question here. You have two choices. I'm going to give you the best. I'm a genie, let's say. Is this working? Josh?
No.
No?
Use that one.
Is this okay? I got to steal it back. Wife swap, back again.
There we go.
Mic swap. Okay. Somebody said, "Hey, sound guy, mic up your boss, please." Rick, they're getting angry.
Natives are restless.
Rick takes sound very seriously. He's gonna find that guy and take down his YouTube channel. Can you guys hear me now?
You're good.
Okay, I'm good. Here's a question for you. This is a question that I took from Mr. Warren Buffett. Now they said it's even better. What would you rather own? Anybody? I'm gonna give $100 to one person who answers this. Not you guys. You guys have enough money. $100 to whoever. Would you rather own all the gold in the world or all the agricultural land in the United States?
Agricultural.
It's about, I think the world has something like 80 billion acres of farmland. I may be wrong. I forget what the United States has. But they're valued almost the same. At gold at its peak. But when you think of it like that, why would you want to own gold? Gold doesn't produce anything. That's why all you gold. Now, I'm not against gold. Gold as a small percentage of your portfolio makes sense. It's been part of people's portfolio. Kings, Caesars. It makes sense. It's portable. That's what's beautiful about gold. Digital currency, Bitcoin, a great thing. I still believe in digital currencies and cryptos, and I don't believe in all. Most of the cryptos are dumb. That's why I said, by the way, I had a crypto program. I told most people in that program, focus on Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin, in my opinion, has the most name brand value. And even though Bitcoin's come down from 18, 20,000, dipped into the 3,000s, it still has a name brand. Anywhere you go in the world and you say Bitcoin, people know. Bitcoin to me is still the digital gold. Gold has a name brand. If you say to people, want some gold? Very few people in countries will go, nah, keep your gold. Keep your gold. I want the aluminum foil, right? So the problem with gold or Bitcoin is when it becomes too much part of your portfolio, it doesn't create cash flow. So it can become almost a Ponzi scheme. The beautiful thing about owning real estate is as long as the sun shines and some rain falls, the United States agricultural product is massive. I mean, put it this way, one county in the United States called Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, where the Amish are, 2.5 hours from us in New York. I haven't seen them updated yet. 10 years ago was producing $1 billion worth of food. One county. You know how many counties there are? So don't go completely into gold. Real estate's better than gold. But let's see what, I said I'd give $100 away. Somebody said, did Ty say gold is a Ponzi scheme? No, you did not listen. Gio Garcia La. I got an idea. Earwax removal so people can listen. I said, if you put all your money in gold and Bitcoin, it becomes, and your only value is the derivative value, meaning the change in price.
Yeah.
Right? That begins to take on attributes of a Ponzi scheme, but it's not a Ponzi scheme. You can take on attributes of a Ponzi scheme would be the only way that thing makes money is for other people to think it's worth more. Warren Buffett calls this the greater sucker theory. 2008, people would buy a house for way more than it was worth. Oh, I'll pay $1 million for this place. Even though I can only rent it for $2,000 a month, I'll pay $1 million. Because someone stupider than me will pay $2 million. But what happens is when they pull the chair out in the game of musical chairs, and there's no one left to buy the property for $1 million, now you sell for $500,000, and then you have 3 million people or more go homeless and be foreclosed on. So let's go back. Let's talk more on cash flow. Because if you're investing in yourself, you're investing in your network, then you should be investing in a cash flow business. My social media marketing agency, my e-com business. Now we're talking about HSMC, building your own home sharing management company. We talked about your LLC. We talked about, let's talk about managing cash flow. Let's talk with you, Brian. How do you manage the cash that comes in? Do you put some of it in savings? Do you invest it all in new properties? Like, what's your strategy?
I recommend, first of all, you need to have a totally separate bank account. You don't want to be running your Airbnb business or your home sharing business into your own bank account. So open up a separate bank account. You can do that if you have an LLC set up. All the money goes in there, and in the early days, what you want to do is take your cash flow and use it to go get more listings. So if you're starting out, you start making income on your one listing. Let's say you're making a couple $1,000s on one listing. Then you're going to save that up and you're going to go get your second listing.
How do you
third
get that?
listing.
Do you have a script for that? Do you what?
For getting what? The property?
Yeah.
Yeah. I pitch owners.
Okay, so let's give a sample script. We are going to put, the scripts are inside the program.
They're in here, yeah.
But I want to give away, because I told you, we got a paid version of this. That's 4-month certification program. But I know some of you can't afford anything. You have $3 in your bank account. So let's give them kind of a free sample script. We don't have time to do all the scripts, but let's do one.
Okay, so most people think that owners are never going to go for this, but owners go for it all the time. So there are millions and millions and millions of rental properties just in the United States alone. They always come on the market every single day. There's all these properties coming on the market for rent. So I will call these rental properties, whoever owns them. I'll try to get a hold of the owner themselves. I don't want to talk to the management company. So if I get Mr. Owner or Mrs. Homeowner on the phone, I'll say, hey, I want to come check out your property this Saturday. I make the appointment. That's all I do. So I show up, I look at the property, I try to get to know the person, build a little rapport, and if I feel like it's kind of going well, then I say, look, I really love this house, I'd love to lease it for the next year, but I have a kind of a strange proposal for you. And if it doesn't work out, no big deal, but I just want to put it out there and tell you what I do. What I do is instead of living in the property, I lease it from you, I'll pay you every month on time, the rent, you don't have any extra work involved, but instead of me living in it, I'm going to have short-term guests stay in the property. So guests come to our town, and they stay here for 2 or 3 nights, then they leave, then more guests come in. And now they're going to have some objections. They're going to say, well, wait
what's
a
the
second.
most common objection?
Common objection is too much wear and tear.
Trash my place.
Oh, people are going to bring their luggage in and out of my property. That sounds crazy. That's too much wear and tear. And what if they tear up my property? So I always ask them a question. I say, okay, well, which of these is more likely for a tenant versus a guest, okay? So somebody puts a satellite dish on the roof without permission. Is that going to be a tenant or somebody staying for 2 nights?
Right, a tenant for sure.
Somebody's dog digs up the backyard and destroys it over the course of several months, right? That's the tenant.
Yep.
Somebody's boyfriend or girlfriend shows up at 2 in the morning, kicks the front door, and this stuff happens all the time to landlords, right? They paint one of the bedrooms a weird color. I mean, all kinds of things happen.
On one of my properties, someone graffitied the wall.
Graffitied the wall.
This person was an asshole. Listen to this. I got not to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, go for it.
I got a place in San Diego that I owned for years, and I think I sold it now. Owned for years.
Yeah.
I forgot that I think I sold it. But
Do I own it?
there was somebody, my friend Joe, childhood friend, does property management for me. He goes, hey, these people are late on their rent, but it's because one of them has cancer. He said, I saw the letter from the doctor. Do you want to evict them? And I was like, oh man, I'm not going to evict somebody with cancer, right? So I gave him either 3 or 6 months. I said, for the whole summer, don't pay anything. But then I said, you got to pay something eventually because it's only fair, right?
Yeah.
3 to 6 months later, they finally didn't pay a penny. So we were like, okay, can you move out? Like we agreed. You got like a place for 3 to 6 months. They graffitied the wall and kicked the whole thing in, like literally kicked it in with their foot. And I was going, man, you're nice to people. I'm like, I should have come in there on day one with a couple of Bloods and pit bulls and been like, you got 2 choices. You can leave the legal way or we can chomp your ass up. But anyway, El Chapo style. But
That happens all the time.
yeah,
to landlords.
that was a long, so I could tell that story. I'd be like, trust me, a guest ain't gonna do that.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So when people book on these home sharing sites, they're giving their identification, they're giving their passport, they're giving their license, they're putting their credit card out, they're paying in advance. I mean, this isn't just somebody off the street paying cash. So you kind of know who's going to be staying in the property. So I just tell the owners, look, that's not the way this is.
And you have special insurance? Do you give them any assurance?
So what I do is I say to them, I offer that if they want it. So if they say, well, what if somebody's going to tear up my property? And I say, well, Mr. Homeowner, I'm actually going to insure your property. Because nowadays there's companies out there that insure just for this business.
Really?
Oh yeah, you can pay like 80, 100, 120 bucks a month per unit, which is not much when you're making this cash flow. And then you can name them as the beneficiary. So they, the owner, are actually protected. So you say, Mr. Owner, you're going to be insured by your own policy. You're going to be insured by my policy. By the way, has any tenant ever insured your property? No. Thirdly, you're going to be protected by the host protection insurance. So
And
an Airbnb
they
is
have that $1 million. Airbnb
coverage.
covers $1 million. Does VRBO have that?
They do have some kind of coverage. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're covered 3 different ways. So that whole argument just kind of dies. And so you kind of talk through what the scenario is. Now, if they say no to everything, then the last kind of bombshell is you say, well, how much are you asking for this unit? And they say $1,500, and you say, well, what if I paid you $1,600 a month?
Yep.
And their eyes will spin in their head because they've never heard that. They're like,
Yeah, you
why
just
would you
keep
wanna pay
going
me
up.
more?
Yeah.
Why would you want to pay me more? Because $100 doesn't matter to me. I'm going to still make money in this unit.
Yeah.
Will you do $1,600? And you'd be surprised somebody say, yeah, I'll do that.
I love it.
Yeah.
60 seconds on Instagram.
You guys are getting free info. Go here, HSMC Live. We got over 10 hours of training and more coming. So we'll be live. We're coming right back Instagram. So come right back. We're still live here. We're going live for 3 hours. How long we been?
Almost 3 hours.
No, that says 226, and we were off for about 20. So we got 1 hour left. You guys good?
Yeah.
Get us something. We need some drinks or food or something.
no, this is yours.
We need some energy
Yeah,
drinks.
we need some energy.
Let's take. I want to take some questions from the audience. And by the way, I forgot to give away the $100. Where's?
Oh, boy.
Oh, this needs to be plugged in. It says my battery's low. All right, let me get my. Let's read. I haven't checked on Twitter in a second. What's my Twitter comments coming in? Oh, I haven't even checked on Facebook either.
Poor Facebook people.
Why do we have 4 twit? Oh, okay. Very interesting, guys. Nothing but gems. Ty, I want an intern for you. For those of you who want to work for me, go to tylopez.com/jobs. Yeah, hand out some fruit.
Oh, yeah.
We got some beef jerky there. I'm launching a beef jerky company. We're actually, yep, with our own. I know where the food comes
Source
from.
beef, yeah.
Well, it's on our own land, so just grab me a banana. Who knows what the healthiest fruit is according to Ben Greenfield, who I look up to as one of the cutting-edge experts on here. This table costs a lot of money. Don't leave any food here. Yeah, unfortunately, I call this place where I live in New York the museum, because this place, you do not want to get it dirty. Can you put this live? Let's do a little quiz here.
Healthiest fruit?
Healthiest fruit according to Ben Greenfield, who is really he's been on Joe Rogan, 2 times?
Yeah.
And he's one of the best triathletes, Ironman. I don't know how many times, who knows? $100, who knows the answer?
Is that a hint?
Someone said banana, pear, nope. Twitter, no. Somebody said, let me check. I haven't checked on Facebook in a second.
Thanks.
How the hell? Hey, can you make this thing better? Put Alt just one window open with 3 tabs. That's all. I like that better. Avocados, man. The thing is, most people consider an avocado a vegetable. You know the technical difference between a fruit and a vegetable?
On the inside or outside?
Grapefruit. All right, I'm gonna give you. I haven't seen anyone Instagram some of the grapefruit, kiwi. I'll take 2 answers, by the way. There's 2 answers. One's very exotic, and one everybody knows. Raspberry, getting warmer. 2 answers, $200 up for grabs right now. Blueberry. Reese Joe Bibier. We need to save that. Wait. Reese J, REESE J, like Bob, IER. Okay, you won $100. Blueberry. What's the second one? I don't think anyone's gonna get this one. Starfruit. Nope.
Thanks.
This one's very exotic. Very exotic. It has basically the highest antioxidant count. Blueberries are very high in antioxidants, but what's even higher? Acai's, I think, pretty high. Acai, somebody wrote. No, but there's one super high. Yeah. Bring some paper towels too, guys. Pomegranate, dragon fruit. If nobody gets it here in a second. I guess nobody gets it. The answer is goji berries. Goji berries. You can't win out here. Okay. Let's talk more about Airbnb.
Let's do it.
We probably should have given everyone bananas because apples are like worst thing for the sound equipment. All right, I'm gonna take some questions here. Let's talk questions on home sharing. Who's got them? $100 we just gave for the person. The most commonly healthy fruit would be.
Was it acai? Or was it
No,
something?
it's blueberries and goji berries. Goji has, just Google the antioxidant count on goji berries. It's insane. Diana said, Ty, I said that. Sorry, I couldn't see. I'm on 4 places live, so I did not see it. This doesn't necessarily show me Twitter comments. This just shows. Do I have to click on something, I guess? All right. Ty, $1,600. Oh, the $1,600 guy, how did he get started? Who had $1,600?
I think he was referencing.
First month, $1,600.
Oh, okay. So you got started renting a room.
I
where?
leased a property.
You leased a
Leased
property.
a whole 1-bedroom apartment. Yeah.
So you had it. How much was the rent on the place you were in?
$2,000 on the one I was in, $1,800 on the first unit that I got separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So by taking that property, renting it out, paid, and what was the second property?
Second property was a studio. It was $2,000 a month, and that made about $30,000 for the year.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So you're making $2,500 a month.
Yeah. So usually it's 300%. That's a pretty good rule of thumb. So if it's a $1,000 lease, you can make about $3,000. Not every market. Sometimes you can go higher or lower.
Right.
So a $2,000 property, you could possibly make up to $6,000 per month, or even double is pretty good. If you're renting for $2,000 and you're making $2,000, that's pretty good too.
Somebody asked about any special taxes. You said in Canada you have permits. How much are they? Well, let's come back to you because you got an app on your own.
Yeah.
It's actually, okay, we'll
Go
come
ahead.
around to
Give
that.
you what?
Let's talk about worst mistakes anybody made and how to avoid them. Specific deal. Zach, what's the worst deal you did?
The worst
And
deal?
something you can tell people to avoid in real
Okay,
estate.
In real estate, the number one thing, you have to choose the right business partner. The biggest mistake I ever made was I chose the wrong business partner, and I lost probably about $500,000 or more in profits.
They
and
stole it?
No. So we had 3 houses together, and we're gonna go 50-50 on the holding cost, which is the monthly mortgage, and then go 50-50 on the construction cost. So keep in mind, these 3 homes are in Silicon Valley. So the holding cost was around $8,000 a month, times 3, and then plus like $100,000 in construction. So the guy decided to bail on me, and he decided he didn't want to come in 50-50 anymore. And so he completely left it all to me. And is what we had to do is we ended up defaulting on it and had to sell it below what we're actually going to sell it for. And one house was renovated and one house was on its way to getting renovated. So we literally lost like $500,000 in profits. And I think I lost probably around like $50,000 or $70,000 of my own money. So I did business with the wrong person. So it's very important.
How do you read? What would you do different? Was there signs that you didn't pay attention to?
So there were signs. There were signs that I did notice. The only thing is he really wanted, because I'm real good at finding deals. So he tried going out and working with other people, but they just couldn't find deals as juicy as I did. So he really wanted to work with me, and I was offering him 50-50%. So he was offering money. He's like, here, I'm gonna write a check today. I'm gonna wire the money to your account. And it was hard for me to say no, because he's like, someone's like offering you $100,000 to go 50-50 with you. So I made the mistake of, I could have been more patient and probably waited for someone else, but I've done a deal before with him, and we didn't have that sort of problem. But in the future now, I even learned, can I give out your quiz? Or?
Yeah, go to tylopez.com.
So now in the future, go to tylopez.com/fool quiz. And you
just do the regular quiz now. I changed it. Just tylopez.com/quiz. It's free. I don't make a penny off of it. Have every potential business partner take it, because you will filter out some psychopaths from hell.
Yeah,
for free.
You made us take it.
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah, we took it.
And now
none of these people had psychopaths. Yours.
And now that I'm more experienced with how that quiz works and how people, like, thinking back on it, this guy was probably like, so on Ty's quiz goes from 1 to 100. This guy was, I'm not gonna say who, someone real close to me, they're like a 70 on narcissism, and I know him really well.
70?
Yeah. So this guy that I did business with, I promise you, he was probably like 100 on narcissism. And it was just a nightmare, because I started doing more research on narcissism and like clinical narcissists, and this guy just all up and down the charts, check. And and then not only that, but I went to, I invest in myself to learn more. So I go to more real estate meetup groups, and there's a lot of top investors I've networked with before, and a lot of them say the same exact thing: is be careful who you do business with.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest takeaway I'd have to say, is make sure you do business with the right people and use Ty's quiz, because that's like the fast track.
And one thing about that quiz, narcissism, what they found now, which is very interesting, is that the people who are narcissists actually have less gray matter in one part of their brain, the part that has empathy. So a narcissist, actually, you can't get mad at them. They're like retarded, basically. Like, you wouldn't get mad if you had a retarded kid. You wouldn't be like, hey, how come you can't play basketball, right? Because it's like they're handicapped. Well, a narcissist has a part of their brain, depending on the level, where something's missing, and it's genetic. Narcissism is extremely genetic. Dr. David Buss, one of my mentors, Harvard professor, wrote the textbook called Evolutionary Psychology. He said narcissism and psychopathy, which is being a psychopath, I don't think that's genetic, but narcissism, meet people's parents. Whenever I meet somebody that's a narcissist, I'm like, I literally go, is your mom or dad a narcissist? And the worst is when they go, oh yeah, both of them are worse than me. Then you're like, oh my God, do not have a kid with that person. That thing will pass right down through your children. Machiavellianism is a different trait that's not, that's called the dark triad. Machiavellian traits are not really genetic. They're more from upbringing, if you were bullied, things like that. And then being psychopath is like a random mutation, I think. That's why a lot of serial killers had nice parents who were normal, who didn't abuse their kids, like Ted Bundy, or I forget which. A lot of these crazy psychopaths were not really born psychopathic. Someone said narcissism is very environmental. Probably not, according to some of the world expert scientists that are my personal consultants. I pay them every month. Dr. Buss, one of them, and it's not very genetic narcissism at all. In fact, it's not very environmental. He says it's just bad science. For example, so people go, oh, the reason that kid's a narcissist is because his mom and dad was a narcissist, so they trained their kid to be a narcissist. No, you got it backwards. The mom and dad were narcissists and therefore passed it right through the genes. No, narcissism, now nothing has 100%, correlation with your parents. I don't think, even height is not 100%. The most correlated parts of DNA, of your genetic makeup are things like skin color, eye color. Very few black people with blue eyes. Lots of red hair people with blue eyes. It's just like a genetic, it's correlated. And there's very few, black people that have red-headed children. And it's that if you take out being an albino. And there's very few, blonde hair Swedish people that have black children, okay? Unless the mom, was on Tinder or something like that. Went to Peckers and was on Tinder. So people, it's funny, you can tell people that about genetics, and they're like, of course your height, like Brad's tall, your dad's tall. Yeah. Shaquille O'Neal, these people, I have a friend who's 7'2". His name's Chris, and he weighs like 490 pounds. He used to be a head bouncer at one of my nightclubs in North Carolina that I had. And I once said, I was like, is anyone in your family tall? He's like, no, they're not that tall. He's like, my dad's only like 6'6". My grandpa was only 6'9". I'm like, yeah, but in the real world, where everybody ain't 7'2" like you. He's like, my mom's only like 5'11". Yeah. So if that's genetic, hair color, eye color, height, don't you think the other things would be genetic, but you just can't see them? Like anger is very genetic. Someone with a short temper, boy, my dad has a super short temper, and I have had to work on my temper. One time my dad went to prison for a long time, which also makes your temper even more temperamental. My dad's from right there, Harlem. At the end of it's funny, now I live on the other side of Central Park is Harlem. And my dad was born in Harlem when it was not like a nice place, and it was not, Bill Clinton didn't have his office there. It was rough. But my dad, these kind of people with tempers. Now that's correlated as being a psychopath. The definition of a psychopath is very low fear, by the way. That's why if you ever like road rage and you realize a person is a psychopath, you can't threaten a psychopath. You can't. They're immune to threatening. That's like one of the clinical tests of a psychopath. So if you go to a psychopath, you're like, if you cut me off one more time, I'm gonna beat your ass. In fact, psychopaths, when they shoot gunshots off in the air, psychopaths' heartbeat goes down and they sweat less. That's why about 80% of Navy SEALs are clinical psychopaths, because you want a psychopath. When they dropped into Osama bin Laden to kill him, and there was like women coming out and children, you didn't want somebody who's like, oh, there's children, like I feel so bad. You just want like, they were just dropping little beads one by one until they got to Osama bin Laden. So do not have a psychopath business partner. Yeah. And there's a lot more narcissists than psychopaths. One thing to know, women are basically never psychopaths. So if you have a female business partner, you dramatically decrease the chance you will get a psychopath. Of the last 1,000 serial killers in history, there's like 4 women, 996 men.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when men call women psychos, I'm like, you're using the wrong word. The clinical word would be more like women, like what men usually mean is more like dramatic or overly sensitive or Machiavellian. Women can have Machiavellian traits. Ty, are you a narcissist? When I do a narcissist quiz like the MPI or some of those, I'm not really a narcissist. People think I'm a narcissist because I go on social media, but I have there's people with lower narcissism than me, but I don't have crazy. Here's a good way to know somebody has high narcissism. They'll never apologize. Like you tell them, you're like, bro, you were wrong. Like you said, meet me at 5 o'clock, and then they show up at 7, and you're like, see the text? Yeah. You said 5, and they'll just like excuse it away, like, well, I didn't even mean to send that. That's such a quick way to tell a narcissist. Inability to apologize. So I don't have that. Also, narcissism has 7 facets technically. So you have authority, superiority, exploitativeness, vanity, and even self-sufficiency is a form of narcissism. So by the way, not to take this conversation too far away, but this is important to know, because also when you lease a property from somebody, get them to take the quiz. Anybody I do business with, anybody I talk to, I get everybody to take a quiz. This building has a doorman, he's gonna take the quiz. He doesn't know it yet, but he's gonna take, because I wanna know who I'm dealing with. Because some people, if you know you're dealing with a psychopath, you gotta treat them a little differently. You gotta back off a little bit. So you can take my tylopez.com/quiz. It's probably the most scientific quiz. I did not build it, by the way. So for those of you who go, what's your credentials? The credentials of this quiz are unsurpassed. Rick is not laughing at you, by the way. Rick is not a narcissist, and he is not a psychopath. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear
I
us.
think it did cut out.
Rick, it might have been just YouTube for a second. It was not Rick Field's fault. It was YouTube, because we can hear it. So, can you hear me? Let me see. Audio's back. Okay, that's not me. YouTube, believe it or not, is not infallible. Okay, biggest mistake and how people can avoid it with real estate and their own management company.
Yeah, so I would say I've kind of been on two extremes of business partners. So one, I think the interesting thing about working with other investors that if you've got a good investor, they don't get hung up over, like, if we're partnering and we're going to do a deal, we're not going to get hung up over how much money you're going to make. I'm just focused on how much money I'm going to make. And if you make money, great,
Right.
So that's not a big deal. And my first business partner, like, we had a good arrangement and everything, and then he started getting so focused on, well, but wait a second, you're making more here, this or this, and he started paying more attention to my stuff than his stuff, and that went downhill from there. So, and then kind of years later, I started working with another business partner, and it's been great. Like, we work together so well. So I think that the other piece of it is that when kind of things start to take off, the instinct is like, okay, if we did this, we can do another deal, and just going too fast.
Yeah.
And so sometimes just kind of saying, all right, when you see that success with real estate, like, all right, it's good, but I'm going to hold back a little bit. Don't over leverage, so where it's just like, let it ride.
Yeah. And I'll add to that two things that he brought up. Going back to personality tests, there is another thing you need to look at that shows up in the quiz. It's under Hexaco. It's under the H for honesty, humility, greed avoidance. You want you don't want greedy business partner. And the second thing is people who love to negotiate too much, they score horribly on these quizzes. So it's okay to be a decent negotiator. But believe it or not all the money in the world is made by people who just negotiate down to the nth degree. For example, I know real estate people personally that the way they made money, they found a property worth 10 million and they went and offered 11 million. They just wanted they knew the deal in the long run would pay off. And they go, if you negotiate too much, you lose the deal. And over negotiation is correlated with very bad scores on the quiz, especially around things like agreeableness. There is a time to negotiate, but if you get a business partner, I see this with employees. Some of our worst employees that I said not to hire, and we somehow accidentally hired them, were people who came in like, all right, you're offering us $100,000 a year, I want 103,000, and I'm going, dude, like, really, is that why you're here? I can understand wanting to make more over time, but that's your opening. You want to set the stage. That's how our relationship is, right? You want it to be quibbling over $3,000 a year, which sounds like a lot, but if you get on the good side of somebody you're working with, they might give you a raise to 200,000. I've done raises from 100 to 200, straight to 200,000. So you got to ask yourself, am I getting into my, and with the home sharing thing, when you go to negotiate these leases, and that person is like negotiating you to death, be like, hey, take this quiz.
Or walk away.
Yeah, or walk away. Usually the quiz. The quiz will tell you to walk away. All right, worst deal, worst mistake, and what people can do to avoid your mistake.
Okay, so mine was pretty big. decided to build a multi-million-dollar spec home on the beach right around 2006. I completed it right as the market crashed and lost it for foreclosure.
How expensive was
It
it?
was 2.1 million.
How much did you have in it?
I would have made $1 million on the deal, roughly, had it sold.
Woo!
And I had just finished the pool and the landscaping and everything when the market turned. And I couldn't even rent it out to cover my mortgage, so that was painful, very painful. So timing was off.
So what's the takeaway for somebody listening here?
Well, the takeaway was I was very leveraged. I was leveraged on that property. I had other properties at the beach.
Yeah.
Several properties, and I was leveraged pretty heavily right before the big downturn, because at that time you could put down almost no money.
Yep.
I put down $10,000 to build that house.
Yeah.
They financed the whole thing.
Yeah.
So $10,000 to build.
Those days are gone.
Those days are gone. So leverage is great, and leverage you got to be very careful of as well, especially when there's unforeseen things in the economy that can happen at any time.
Yeah, remember when you're building your home sharing management company, like we're training you today, and you go out and you do that, try to have what's called a margin of safety. So if you're renting a place for, let's say you're going to be on the lease for $2,000 a month, okay? And you do the math on realistically, assuming there's a downturn in the economy, you can only rent it out for $2,001. We go, I make a profit. No, you need a margin of safety so that if the economy goes down, if you get sick, if a hurricane hits that part of the country, that you're not going to go broke. Warren Buffett is such a big believer. And the second thing I would say to that is save your cash. Don't invest all of it back.
Amen.
Alan Nation, my second mentor, he died a couple years ago. It's too bad I never got him on a live call, but he's probably the smartest guy I've ever met. He's the one who taught me how to read a book a day. He had a full photographic memory with thousands of books in it, and he was a genius. In fact, looking back in life, he's the only person that gave me hundreds of pieces of advice that has been 100 for 100. Never given me a bad piece of advice. One of the things he told me was the temptation for an entrepreneur, whatever is making you money, to invest all of it back in. The problem is that, if you understand game theory, is that everything creates its opposite. So in a capitalistic cycle, you have what's called a trough here at the bottom. You have the expansionary period, which is what we've been in, where things look good and the economy's great and real estate's going up. Then you have this top, and the top usually levels out, which is actually what we're in right now. Real estate in New York, it's still selling, but it's topped out. It's not going up much. And then you have a recessionary period, a contraction period, which will come, always comes. It hasn't come for 10 years since 2008, but it didn't really end until, let's say, 2011. So it's been roughly 7 to 8 years. And Alan Nation told me every 7 to 10 years there'll be a recession. So between now and 2021, maximum. And I believe it's coming right now. And here's the good news. For those of you who get into a home sharing management company, remember how you were talking about people who have their home on the market to sell, and then no one's buying it? You could be renting out all those places, and the more there are on the market, the more you come in and say, you sign my contract, you sign my term, I'm only going to give you this much. You don't have to go up. So people don't understand. If you study back hundreds of years, and I'm not saying you should take advantage of people in hard times. You're not taking advantage of these people. Don't worry about these people who own real estate. They're okay. They still own the real estate. But you look at Carnegie, you look at Rockefeller, we can go through all of the industrialists. And even to today, they said you make your money when blood's on the street. What that mean is that when the recessionary period comes, you make the most money. And I've been through 2 recessions as an entrepreneur. I started, like I said, as a teenager. I remember 2001, I remember 2008, 7 years apart. And I made the most money in those 2 years compared to years before. Bam! Because I understood, and I was lucky enough to be trained by my mentors. Let me show you. You want me to show you something crazy on paper you've never seen before? I promise you. Let me see a marker real quick. I'm going to draw this. Watch this very closely. There's 2 ways of doing accounting. And people do not understand this at all. And this is zero. I'm probably the only person on social media ever to teach this. Okay, so let's say you buy a property for $100,000. You decide you want to be a real estate investor. 100K. Market's going up. You sell it a year later. Somebody gives you 200 grand. How much profit did you make? Anybody here? What do we got?
2x.
Jacob says you made 100K. He's only right in one form of accounting. Another form of accounting, you've made no money yet. You can't know. It's called inventory accounting. If you own Whole Foods, you sell $100,000 worth of lettuce, and you paid $1 for it. Well, you have to buy back more lettuce to stock up the Whole Foods counter. You can't just say, oh, we're out of the lettuce game. Sorry. So remember, it's let's say it takes you a year to find another property. You want to be back in the game. You just want to own a 4-bedroom home to lease out. But now it's 300. You only have 200. You can't buy. There's no so in an expansionary market, people actually think, this is called tax accounting right here. The IRS loves this accounting way, but the IRS don't care about you. They do not care about you. And you can go broke where you're showing profit on a P&L, but on a statement of cash flow, which is another form of accounting they don't teach you in school. There's three things. There's a balance sheet, which shows your assets and liabilities. There is a P&L, which shows your profit and loss counted this way. And there is statement of cash flow, which is your bank account going up. Your bank account went up. Ooh, I got 200 grand in it. Let me go buy another house so I can stay in the real estate business. Wait a sec, they're all 300 grand. Now, why is a recession okay? Now, by the way, there is a strategy to make money this way. But let's say it goes down and everything CNN and Fox News talks about happened. So let's say you started at the top and then it goes down and everyone would tell you life's horrible. So you bought a 300 grand house. A year later, because of the market, you sell it for 200. Most people will tell you lost 100 grand. But what if you wait another month or two and it's crashing and now you rebuy in for 100 grand? You have 200 grand. So now in this scenario, you have 100,000 in your bank account. Here you have negative 100,000. So it goes in a cycle, and what they don't teach you in school is how to make money on all these. And I don't have time to show everybody here all of this, but inventory type accounting, as long as you want to be in the game of real estate, allows you to make money right here. In fact, I'd love if real estate crashed right now, even though I bought millions of dollars worth of real estate this year. Oh, if it all went down in half, that's my hope. I don't want anyone to get hurt. But a lot of the people I buy real estate from, the real estate's gone up so much, they'll still make money. If this thing, so I don't love this. You know what this is called? Listening to the news app. If you get all your financial information from journalists at CNN, ABC, MSNBC, Fox, all of them, the Republican ones and the Democrat, how much do you think they know about money? You think they know about money? They got a college degree. They don't even learn this. This is the law of the jungle, baby. This is street smarts right here. This is what they teach you in the School of Hard Knocks. They don't teach this. People come out, they get their little degrees, they write articles. Oh, life is all bad in the recession. You know where it is bad to have a recessionary period? Is when you have a job, a 9-to-5 job. Woe to all of you who have a 9-to-5 job in 2008, in 2001, in the 1930s, in 81. There was a big crash, I think, in 1890s or before 1880s, there was a big crash. It didn't hurt the farmers. You think in 1930, I just read a book by Helen and Scott Nearing. They had a farm in Vermont. They left New York City. They wanted to be like Thoreau. They lived off the land. You think they got hurt in 1930? No, they weren't. He said, I don't want to be a wage earner. He said, but he still worked. They sold maple syrup. He had bread money. And he had his leisure time. He only worked 4 hours a day his entire life. He's a fascinating guy. But basically he said, you know what? Only wage earners get hurt in this. And remember, he was back in the 1930s. That was a real depression. Yeah. 2008 wasn't the 1930s. Name somebody you knew who went starving.
Bread lines.
Name a starving person in 1930. You know the founder of the man who built the Los Angeles Lakers, Dr. Buss. Dr. Jerry Buss, not Dr. David Buss. In the 1930s, he said they were so poor, his mom only could get chocolate milk. He said he never touched chocolate milk again. He would have to drink it. They'd stand in bread lines. They were hungry. That doesn't happen anymore. It may happen one day, But if you can build, like each person here represented they're not wage earners, they're entrepreneurs. And even if you stay part wage earner, if you understand how to make money in all environments, you become impervious to everything. And that's what, there's a guy, Nassim Taleb, he talks about how to be resilient. He calls it the black swan. He's written multiple books on this. And each of you, the reason we're sharing so much stuff is so you can be resilient, you know? So, okay, enough of me. Worst mistake, you shared one of them. What's another mistake you made?
I would say going up, same thing with you, you know, the partnership type deal. When I was getting into my Airbnb and trying to scale, I started coaching people on the Airbnb process. It was more of a one-on-one mentorship, and I had an older lady come to me, and I started coaching her how to get her first property. So I scoped out 5 deals right off the bat. Her and I went into business. We ended up getting our first deal together, but the margins were so small. We were paying roughly $1,500 a month, and it's Calgary, as you mentioned, Ty. There's not everybody running to Calgary in the winter.
Not a great place.
No, it's not the best place for it. So
Who wants to go to snow?
yeah,
Skiers?
Rocky Mountains, yeah.
Well, what do people come for? Skiing?
Skiing, snowboarding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Banff, those places would be good, but they're highly restrictive. As I was saying, in Vancouver, you had a lot of the Asian market chew up all the way from Hong Kong would buy all the properties in Vancouver. Even just a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment goes for $1 to $2 million in Vancouver. So it's super expensive. And on top of that, they started buying these big houses and renting out the top floors, and that's where they started with the regulations. And now you actually need a business identification number and a registration number through the Airbnb platform. If it's not posted on your Airbnb listing, you get fined $1,000 a day if they find out that you're doing this.
That's in Canada.
That's in Canada. And some, I don't know if it's in the States yet, but I can't confirm that. But my business deal, go ahead.
Well, can people contact Airbnb and find out? Do they have some information for local markets?
Yeah,
like right
100%.
on their website for people who are actually hosts?
Yes, they do. Yeah, and Brian's going to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll let you know for
Make
sure.
sure you check that.
People in IG are starting to say something about audio. I don't know if you want to send them to YouTube because that audio is great.
If any of you on Instagram cannot hear, head over to Facebook, head to Twitter, head to YouTube. The audio is not us. I don't know why it does that, but it bounces around.
Yeah. So long story short, her and I got into business. We ended up picking up 4 more properties. So we had 5 total together. And the margins, like I said, these were mostly 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and they were in downtown near our sports center called the Saddle Dome. So hockey's a big thing there. People travel all over the world to go to hockey games, as well as we have what's called the Calgary Stampede. And those usually go for, instead of like $150 a night, you're getting $400, $500, $600. And I even pitched this idea. My first property I bought at 21, like I was saying, I bought that as a cash deal, so I wanted to start leveraging my cash. And the reason why I got into Airbnb was I wanted to, instead of constantly putting 40, 50 grand down on a property and leveraging the bank's money to make money and pay off the Airbnb, I thought it's cheaper if I put 2 to 3 grand down on a property. Or, and Brian, you gave me a great idea, getting into luxury mansions.
Yep.
So getting into luxury mansions, maybe you get another business partner, or maybe 2 more, but your margins are so much higher. Plus, there's a huge open space, especially if you're using a website like AirDNA, which tells you the historical data.
So let's talk about that website,
Yeah.
AirDNA. This is a tool for people to use.
Yeah.
You want to mention that?
AirDNA.co, not
CO, yeah.
.com. So AirDNA is a data analytics site. They take all the back-end data out of Airbnb, and they put it into these reports. So you can basically buy a report on any city or town in the U.S. It doesn't work so well if you're overseas, but it allows you to see what the daily rate is, the occupancy rate, you can actually see what each listing is making in your city, and they give you a heat map, and the heat map shows you where there's clusters of properties. So if you're in Orlando, Florida, and you want to look at the whole city, you can say, wow, there's a whole cluster of short-term rentals right here. What's going on here? And you might see, oh, it's near Disney World, or it's near this attraction. And so AirDNA gives you information you cannot get on the website. You can't see on Airbnb. So it gives you the confidence to know, oh, wow, if I get that unit, I can charge $200 a night. So it's called airdna.co. So you can check that out, and it's great for anybody who's looking to research. It also helps if you're looking to research cities that you don't live in. So if you want to go pick up a listing in another city, you can buy a report on that city, and then when you go there, you know where to buy property.
So for like if there's any real estate investors who buy, fix, and flip houses, AirDNA is kind of like the comps for like, it's kind of like a comparable. Like before you buy a house, you look for comps and comparables, see how much it'll resell for. AirDNA.co is pretty much like the same thing. Like, what can I sell this for? It's like an apples to apples, and you just compare what you have to what's out there, and it'll tell you how much it's worth.
Yeah, because you can see what's going on when let's say you go on Airbnb and you do a search for your city. The results that come up are only the properties that are available. They're not what's actually been rented already. So if property's been rented, it's not going to show up in the search.
Yeah, bring that a little closer. I think somehow the audio is really low on Instagram. One question. Somebody said about, does Airbnb send all the information to the tax authorities?
I don't know the answer to that.
In terms of filing your own taxes? Or
No,
like
They 1099 you.
Yes, they 1099.
They
Yeah.
1099 you, and that the IRS will know about the 1099, so you can't
Yeah.
just forget about that income. Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're cracking down more on that.
Yeah, they will send you a 1099.
Brandon said, all public knowledge, if you want more, you have to pay for it. I hope you ain't criticizing us, Brandon. We have given away a lot of information that you can't get publicly. And you know how I know proof? Because you're on my damn live stream. So if you could find this all out somewhere else, you wouldn't be here. People don't even smart enough to think through. People are like, Ty, I've been watching your Instagram for 3 hours, but I get no value. I'm like, well, there's two options. Either you're lying and you did get value, or you're stupid. Because who would stare at a
3
TV
hours.
channel for 3 hours that you didn't
I
like?
hate this movie. I'm watching it 3 hours.
I'm watching the Weather Channel for 3 hours. I'm really bored. What would I do? Change the channel, bitch. All right.
One thing you were talking about, of course, Airbnb will give you a 1099, and you've got to report that on your taxes.
Yeah.
If you want to kind of get your foot in the door and try, there is kind of a stipulation that if it's your personal property, you can rent that personal property out free or without a tax burden for 14 days.
Yeah, you get an exemption. They call that.
Yeah.
There's a name for it. I forget the
It's called the master's exemption.
yeah, but there's another name. It's named after a person. I forget the name.
And you're going to teach on saving on taxes because when you own property, you now have something to offset that depreciation.
Yeah,
You can
never
offset
be,
your income.
getting a 1099 is the beginning of all good things.
That's right.
Because
Yeah.
when you only get a W-2, you can't deduct most things.
Yeah.
Second, you get 1099 means you're in business.
You are in a
And
business.
to be in business, the downside is potentially you have taxes. The upside is that all of a sudden you get to write off maybe your iPhone and your iPhone bill and your travel to a conference to Miami
Yeah.
while you're there. You know, you enjoy yourself. They IRS
I go to
can't
Europe,
keep
I
you
stay in
for it.
Airbnb, I write it off.
Yeah. Brandon said, Ty, brah, I've been watching you for days. This is the guy that I responded to.
Okay.
Brah, I've been watching you for days and I got all the value. I'm just saying to just pay for the real value. Half the people here have seen all your stuff. They haven't, because this is a new thing. I've never talked about how to start a home sharing management company. Not once in my entire existence on planet Earth. The phrase HSMC has never come out of my mouth before today. So it's not possible that you got all this information unless maybe you.
Time traveler.
No,
Yeah,
quantum.
time traveler.
This guy, no, quantum physics. He operates in parallel universes. He's been in the parallel universe. That's February 58th. Yeah, he's been in a different planet. All right, Ty, I need to get in on this real estate for sure. I'm in Maryland. Let's talk about some locations. If
All right.
you're in North Carolina, the South, you're in so you're in more of a suburbia, slightly upper. Are you in mostly upper income part of North Carolina, or what parts are you in?
No, I mean, it's actually, we're a little bit outside of Raleigh, so it skews a little bit more kind of the country.
Are you like Clayton area?
Yeah.
Clayton, that's where I lived in a mobile home for my teenage years. I know Clayton. Where's most of the properties? In that area?
In
Smithfield?
Clayton, Johnson County.
Johnson
area.
County, okay.
Yeah.
Life comes full circle. You're in high-end stuff.
Silicon Valley, San Jose.
You don't get any more expensive, really. I mean, this street right here, this street where I live on is more expensive, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Billionaire Row is, there's a lot of people here with a few bucks.
Yeah, the median homes there are $1 million.
Yeah.
Median.
Yeah.
And it'll be
Wow.
like a fixer. Like, I'm bidding against
A shack.
first-time home buyers on like $1 million houses.
Yeah. Yeah, probably not the place for you to start. Where's your stuff you've got in Arizona? Where else?
My first 9 listings were in Charleston, South Carolina, and then the luxury properties are in Scottsdale, California, Florida, all over the place.
What part of California you like? Southern?
Laguna Beach, Southern California.
OC? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And me, I'm in Canada, but I'm actually landing. I just partnered up with some guys, big real estate moguls out in the OC, the Koshbin family. And, and essentially they're saying, hey, we got 3,000 vacant properties across the coastline. We'd like to partner with you on this as a property management type thing. So
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. Let's
That's
talk
the model.
about big baller here for a second.
Yeah.
Who here has eye? You know, like what's the saying? You got eyes bigger than your stomach, where you like bite off more.
Yeah.
You can. Who here orders way too much food? Who did that yesterday when we got sushi? That was Jacob.
Good Lord.
Jacob ordered 43 platters for 4 people. I'm like, Jacob was hungry. Jacob was hungry when he was ordering. That's what it was.
We didn't touch any of them.
Yeah, he's like, we ate all this sushi, and then they're like, okay, now you're done with appetizer. I'm like, what?
yeah.
You have dessert in your appetizer? But for those of you who have really big eyes, let's talk about this massive opportunity,
Yeah.
which is going to people. Uncle G, Grant Cardone, was on the live stream, right? He says he's got 4,000 or 5,000 units. He's got 500
Vacant.
Vacant.
Crazy.
This should make you guys, all you guys who are thirsty when you scroll through the Instagram feed looking at girls, this should make you even more excited.
Yeah. Somebody better make that deal happen.
Yeah,
Sitting
because
there
even if you don't
tomorrow.
get 500, you might get
Yeah.
100. And even if you cut a deal that's not 50-50,
Yeah.
Crazy.
because the number one thing that, for the most part, just generalizing, the number one thing that determines the profit that a large multi-unit owner collects each month is the vacancy rate. So the variable, when they're calculating, okay, I'm going to buy this property, hotels same way. What's our vacancy rate? Everything goes off vacancy rate. That's why I said this Airbnb, HSMC that we're training now, this is going to change the entire valuation of real estate. The second you can take somebody from having 500 empty units to 1, that allows them to spend more buying more properties and allow. So to them, you got to pitch this that I've got something that's going to change your life. Not in a cocky way, but I know this sounds cocky, but I've got something that change the entire unit economics on your business.
100%.
Yeah.
And
One,
so-
one unit always leads into more because very few investors only own one rental property. So
No, the
if I need an owner,
Khashoggi family, those guys
Yeah.
own how much?
Manny and Mozzie.
there
How
you
many
go.
units do they own? Or I mean, they've got
I can't tell you, but I just know Manny.
more than
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
count.
Yeah.
So you're working on a deal where you can come in and help them with that.
Yeah, they called me up. Mozzie did the other day, and he said, "Hey, we met you in LA. Actually, after I was teaching SMA at your place, and we ran into you, and we love how you are. And essentially, they judged me based on my personality. Watched me for a few months, gave me a call randomly the other night before I told them I was come out to New York to teach with you guys. Said, hey, we got minimum 3,000 coastal properties here that are totally vacant.
3,000.
We're gonna call every single one. These are our clients, by the way.
By the way, if you just made $100 on each of those,
That's
as your
what-
cut,
That's
that's
what I-
300,000 a month.
That's what I said. And
And
we're-
you said I was involved in you getting to know me. So after you give me, after I get my 70% cut for a referral fee, you'll make 30,000 a month, and I get 270. It's a good deal.
Yeah, and we're not putting any money down on any of the properties. We're just going to manage them for 25%
25%. Woo!
on the gross. Yeah.
You better ramp this business up. This is about scaling. Okay, here's a great question that somebody, Monda Soul, said, how do you get properties the owners of homes are not necessarily on Google like hotels? How do you get their phone and email? You said you go to people for sale.
I'm only looking for people that are already advertising looking for a tenant. So I look on Craigslist, that's a great source. I look in the local paper. I drive neighborhoods looking for signs, rental signs. My first unit, that's what the sign was in the front yard. I knocked on the door and the little old lady came out and said, I want to see your apartment. She took me around back and I talked to her about getting the apartment.
So sell to the willing. you're
Yeah,
saying.
no, I'm looking for people that are actively looking for tenants. So all I got to do is show them that I'm the best choice. That's it.
Yep. I love that.
Yeah. So you're not, they're already looking for a tenant. You know, that's it. It's not that complicated.
Someone just said, all right, Ty, Mark Kug said, how do we get started in real estate? Apparently he just came in. We need a simple course, especially he goes, can you launch a simple course? Which is a perfect segue into this.
Let me
For all
think.
of you
Let me
getting a
think.
lot of value, we launched today. First people ever to get in, new test group, 4-month certification training program. We've already got over 10 hours of training in there. We're gonna go to about 40 hours of training, more than you'll need. You can get started. Our goal is for you to have your first property this month. You go to tylopez.com/HSMC live. I'll read the name of some people getting it. I'll read one or two people who just got in the test group. Where's my little app here? All right. No. Oh, I just launched I get all my different companies in here. I launched a clothing brand. I don't know if you know. It's kind of cool. All right. You guys need this app. I'm going to have to do. He's got a SaaS business that helps people. Steve Casey, Aram Colinares, Cesar Barrera, David Marmon. Are you French? So, who's joining them in the test group? Well, I'm going to keep, by the way, we're going to have this open till Sunday. If you want to get in, we're going to open it till Sunday. Build a test group. Same thing I did with the 67 steps. Same thing I did with SMMA. Same thing I did with ecom. And, I see people listing like, oh, I've helped people become millionaires. I got a lot of people, more than I can actually track now. So I got a whole team dedicated to just collecting testimonials. I have my lawyers review people's tax returns, but I'm getting ready. I got a new website design that has 300 rags to riches stories. My favorite 300. There's some badass ones. Like I said, my favorite is number 1 from prison, 2014 to 25 million net last year.
I like
net.
5K to $1 million. That's pretty damn good.
Well, actually, I just bought a house from a kid who took Ty's course on real estate, real estate wholesaling. He sold me a house, and that was his first deal, and he made 115 grand.
How old was that guy? We got a video of him.
Yeah, I have a video. I think he's like 24.
Yeah, I launched a real estate group on how to invest in actual properties. This is how to start a home share management company, which you don't need any money or good credit to do this. I mean, it's great if you have money or credit, but this is a great no money down strategy to enter the real estate game. But my other real estate program, so you bought a program. He teaches in it, and then he netted 115,000 at what age?
I think he's like 24 or 26. Somewhere
His first
between
deal.
there. First deal.
So all those people that go, does this stuff really work? Well, I don't know. I mean, does it work for everybody? What works for everybody? Are gym scams?
Breathing.
No, a lot of people die. A lot of breath stopping right now. Number 1 cause of death is choking, accidental death. So dude, nothing works all the time. And the reason most things don't work, gyms. Do gyms always work? Do books always help people? Like I was just looking at a book like Think and Grow Rich. Does that help every person? No, because most people never get past chapter 1. Gym, the average person who gets a gym membership here, January, New Year's resolutions, average person goes for 1 month. The reason gyms can be small and sell 10,000 memberships is they know at no time ever will 30% of their membership be in the gym at one time. Never. So you can buy a build, like this place is 8,000 square feet. If I put a gym in here, let's say it would hold comfortably, I don't know, 100 people, I could sell at least 1,000 memberships. Is that a scam? No, it's just part of the game. And college, people have got 1.2 to 2 trillion in debt in the U.S. in college. Did all those people get their money worth? Did all those people get a great job that they love and they use this training that they got in their 4 years of school? How many people do you know that actually, what'd you get your degree in?
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Music.
Oh, I can beat that. Leisure studies.
You got, that's a real thing?
That's a real thing. Leisure studies.
Zach, that sounds like something Zach would study. What do you study in leisure studies?
If you want to go work at Disney World or
Was that your goal before you decided to make? He made like $5 million in the last couple of years as an entrepreneur, and you could have been a Disney greeter.
I could have been a Disney character.
You made the wrong choice, buddy. You could be Mickey Mouse walking around to people getting punched. You know how little kids always like Chuck E. Cheese
hitting the balls,
punch them in the balls. Did you get a degree?
I was in my 4th year and I stopped going. I got my my diploma,
Yeah,
but business management and entrepreneurship.
Did they teach you a lot about how to build your real estate empire, like you're building?
No, I mean they taught
Did you
me
have one class?
Oh, no. I left that class. I remember I was in accounting class, and I started a TV streaming company called FarmersBox. It was like an Android TV box with the Kodi platform, and I was just selling those through Facebook ads.
Yep.
And then I also just used the full
Because of the university Facebook ads class you took?
no, yeah,
What?
no,
They
exactly.
didn't have one on
Literally, they taught me the 4 Ps, like product placement, etc.
Yeah.
So it was like, no, they teach you terminology, maybe some verbiage, but beyond that, I mean, you spent 50 grand for nothing.
If you want to be a professional flash car holder, you can like flash. What does this mean? I had a debate with a guy. He starts pulling out definitions of real estate terms. I'm like, dude, I own more real estate than
I've seen
you.
that.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you talking about? You know how many entrepreneurs I know, okay, that can't define, that can hardly even do math. You know, I got a guy who works for me that dropped out of, that runs one of my properties, one of the best people working for me, and he dropped out of 4th grade. And then put it this way, in the last 2 years, I've fired 2 Ivy League, 1 PhD. These are a PhD or grad level. And I got somebody who dropped out of 4th grade, He's not in 4th grade now, but he dropped out of 4th grade. He's dyslexic. He cannot read anything. He can't read. This guy got more common sense. I'm like, if I could have 100 of you, and I'm not saying when you have an Ivy League. My grandma has an Ivy League degree. My 100-year-old grandma, she got a degree from Yale.
Wow.
So it's not like I think that having it, it's pretty neutral, honestly. If you want to be an entrepreneur, a college degree is like saying you have, I don't know, you're double jointed. Nobody cares. It's like, oh, I'm double jointed. See, I make more money. Like in entrepreneurialism, it's uncorrelated. It's completely uncorrelated. Nothing. The only correlation I can actually find from entrepreneurialism is ugly. Most of the richest guys are ugly. So as far as I can tell, if you are ugly, you have a higher chance of getting on the Forbes list. Like, name one good-looking. Look at the top 10 richest people in the world. They're none. You got Jeff Bezos number 1. No offense to Jeff Bezos. He didn't get there on looks. The man would not win against anybody in looks. You got number 2, you got Warren Buffett. I mean, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger are in their 90s, okay? You have Zuckerberg.
Yeah, Zuck.
Are you making a face like he's kind of good looking?
No.
Zuckerberg, if he didn't
I
have...
just don't want to get shut down on Facebook.
Oh, you want to get shut down. Somebody said Elon is a handsome guy. He's not in the top 10.
And he got handsomer as he
He
became
got
a
handsomer.
millionaire. Have you seen him?
Oh
at
yeah,
28?
he needs to be bald.
Did he get work done?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I said in the top 10, baby. He ain't in the top 10.
Jesus.
He not even, he's under, no, he's not at over 50 billion.
No.
Steve Ballmer,
Carlos Slim,
I
yeah.
know Steve Ballmer, had dinner with Steve Ballmer. I mean, he's like a normal looking dude. He's a big guy. You wouldn't want to get in a fight with Steve Ballmer's like big. He's like 6'4" or something. But no. So my point is, college, look, someone said Steve Jobs looked like a potato.
Like what?
Yeah. Someone said Jeff Bezos' wife is this. Jeff Bezos' wife is good looking.
Second
All
richest now.
stars are good
She's
looking.
pretty. Anyway. Okay, moving on. Let me give $100 out. I'm gonna do who's been paying attention. Let's do some attention paying payouts. Hey Alex, did you see the thing about is that Italian place open?
Not the one downstairs.
Oh.
You got a separate.
Is any of the ones down? Where is it?
Check this out.
Is anything real close to here open? What about the Chinese place down? Sorry.
It's right around the walk.
Oh, it's close?
They
Okay.
got a reservation.
Okay.
Another.
All right, but it's just walkable distance? I don't feel like going far right now. Tony Stark. You do know Tony Stark ain't a real person, right? This dude, this guy's watching way too much. Robert Downey Jr.
Iron
is
Man's
wealthy, but he's not on the list. Okay. What advice would you give to people under 18? My best advice for sure is forget about age, because what happens is people start bringing age into the story and like, what is the story you're going to tell yourself? Okay, let's say you're 17 or 18 or whatever, and so you're going to tell yourself this story that you're young, but then what you have to do is flip the youngness. That's why I like the social media marketing agency, because business owners will trust an 18-year-old with their Facebook and Instagram. So you just take your weaknesses and you flip it into a strength. If you're old and you're like 70 and you're trying to start a social media marketing agency or launch a HSMC, a home sharing management company, like you bring your position of strength. You go, look, I'm 70, I've seen things. I'm going to be able to manage a property. If you're 18, you go, you don't say, look, I've been in the game for 18 years. You go, listen, I might be new, but I know how to do SEO. I know how to rank this thing. I know how to work with Instagram. I know how to text people. Most 60, 70-year-olds are like, my grandma thinks texting is like way beyond anything she can handle. So just be like, I'll handle the texts of the people who are going to come rent the house. I'm like, oh, great. So, all right. Here's my question. And the first one that I see, how much did Zach, point over here, Zach Ross, he started with what amount, and the next year he made what amount? I've seen the tax returns. First person to say the two numbers. Somebody just wrote 40. People never get this game quite right. Two numbers.
We got one there.
Yeah, but I said two
both.
numbers. Two numbers. Nope. Made $5 million. Nope. That's this guy. This guy. I gotta see it.
Nope, that's
You got it?
Oh, right there. Right there.
No.
Nailed it.
Okay. Philip Schifrin on YouTube. 5K to 1.16.
Philip Schifrin.
Philip Schifrin on YouTube. $100.
Way to go.
Do one more here. Real simple one. This one's gonna go real fast. Real fast. Real fast. Real fast. Right here, this man right here is based out of what country and province? I made it a little harder. The country is what country? Country and province. I'm gonna make this real hard.
Province? They're gonna okay.
Province.
All right.
Province. You don't think you said the city. What do we got here? Anybody? Because people ask, can I do an Airbnb home sharing business like we're training people if I don't live in the U.S.? Well, here we go. Some of these are on delay.
Almost, yeah.
Almost.
Which province? We don't have states.
There.
We have
Centino 1K.
no. Oh, this person got it.
No, I saw it was Centino. Man, that came in a little
So
fast.
fast.
Holy cow.
We got 3,000 people on YouTube. That's why.
I got somebody over here. Did you already get it?
Yeah, it was Santino _ 1K is the first one I saw. There was other people before, but they were coming too fast. See, Santino's smart. He did that all caps thing. It's
Yeah,
right.
all
Canada,
caps. There
Calgary.
we go.
Yeah,
Calgary.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
20 seconds left on Instagram. What platform?
Oh.
I'm gonna reset.
Oh, tell me in the future like 10 minutes ahead. Don't tell me 10
I was looking
seconds.
for the answers. I was trying to get to the.
All right. Let's do, okay, come back on. We're going to do another. Let's give what third person deserves this money?
Ask him my major.
What's that song? Is it Cardi B or whatever? My money. Who sounds like that when she says, what rapper
Like
sounds like,
flicks
is
and
that
stuff?
Nicki Minaj
Nicki
or
Minaj.
Cardi? When she
No,
goes,
no.
my money. She
No,
kind
that's
of sounds
Cardi
like,
B. Cardi B.
no, but don't give the answer away.
Oh, sorry.
She always says it. She has that little way of saying money.
I think that's.
My money.
Santino was on what platform?
Under YouTube.
Okay.
You got to scroll back. There was something. Did you guys grab Santino?
We got the
Screenshot.
first one.
Santino _ 1K.
Santino _ 1K. Somebody's going Cardi B, Cardi B, Cardi B, Cardi, Cardi, Cardi. Here, turn this one on again, Zach. All right, my next question. Somebody said, Ty, I love you, bro, but I deserve the money. Perfect persuasive way for me to give that person. Nothing you'd rather give money to people that go, give me the money, biatch. It's mine. You're so persuasive. Number one skill you guys should be, you know what they should have as a college degree that would be a legit degree? There's a few legit college degrees. One legit college degree is medical doctor, surgeon, maybe architect, maybe CPA, but a legit one that millions of people should get, sales and persuasion. Number one correlated skill, number one job that an average billionaire had, but when they were broke, was sales. I started in sales. I started in sales even when I was 16. I worked in sales at a company called Office America, which was like Office Max, but they went bankrupt. And then I worked in sales door to door, man, selling life insurance and health insurance.
That's tough.
You want to talk about the reason people go, Ty, you're good at sales. Why are you good at sales? I'm like, I got lucky because my introduction really to sales door to door was, okay, Go to people and be like, would you like to spend money so that when you're no longer alive and you no longer care, other people are well off financially? That's the sale. When you die, other people, it's the hardest sale in the world, but I didn't know it was. People are just like, yeah, this is an easy sale. Go do this. I got the trick.
I used to sell vacuum cleaners.
Yeah, but vacuum cleaners are like a reason. Like you spend $100, they give you one.
Door-to-door $7,000 water systems.
Oh,
$7,000,
good.
man. Cold call.
Yeah.
Cold knock.
What about engineering? Yeah, engineering's a legitimate. I mean, there's 10 legitimate things, but that's assuming you're going to get an engineering degree and actually be an engineer. Because I know, I mean, look, it's not just whether college has merit. It's the opportunity cost of what you could be doing the 4 years. So, if you got parallel universes and you take one person, they go to college, they apply themselves in any degree, art history, whatever, some kind of weird degree. But they go out and become an art history teacher. Good path. But what happens if they wouldn't have done that? It all depends what you compare it to. People are very illogical. They go, well, a lot of good things happened to me from my college, but how do you know what would happen if you didn't? Did you live a parallel life? Because a parallel life, for example, what if those 4 years you would have found 4 mentors, each were billionaires? Maybe you would be richer than you are now. Now, if the alternative was those 4 years you would have spent just drinking beer and working at McDonald's, then it's probably better to go to college. It all depends on the opportunity cost. And Charlie Munger, probably the smartest, Bill Gates said he's the smartest man alive, and I would tend to agree with him. Charlie Munger says, opportunity cost is a concept that everybody says they understand, but even geniuses are fooled by. So it's hard to know, but be very careful of saying that you did the right thing, because you would have had to live 2 lives to know what the right thing was. So your best guess is you kind of look at statistics in science. You look at the top of the Forbes list. Are these all college graduates? Well, it's like 50-50. And that's crazy to be 50-50 rate, because there's so many more people going to college that it should be producing a proportionately higher amount. Now, there's been studies that say if you go to college, you make a higher income. There's also been newer studies that disprove that and say it takes 30 years to recoup most degree investments. Now, if you're a medical doctor, it's different. 30 years is not a good return on investment. Hey, let's buy this real estate property. In 30 years, we'll make our money back. 30 years? Come on, man. Okay.
Forget that.
Ty, what's your worst business deal? Well, let me give this $100 out first. Terry Kim says, y'all tripping. I don't know if that's what your voice sounds like, but that's how he wrote it.
Terry Kim.
He wrote, y'all tripping. Where are you currently located? Nolan Kavanaugh. This is Manhattan,
NYC.
right? There's Central Park, that little black spot right there, the dark, no lights. Okay. Someone said London. Oh, no. No, I wasn't asking where you guys are. I was reading the comments. Now everybody's commenting where they're located.
Look at all this.
Yeah.
India.
Thanks for the hard work you guys
all
do.
excited.
Thank them. Thank them. Don't thank me. All right, to close out, $100. Let's come up with a hard trivia question. What's hard? Don't say the answer. What's a hard one that we've talked about? What's the... I got one that's not too hard. Zach said he looks for real estate deals, he looks for people who are blank. What is the word? He looks for people who are what? He talked about this earlier. I'm rewarding those of you who spent the last 3 hours with us. Somebody said Peckers? Nope, that's the name of the restaurant idea.
It's $100 right there.
Don't take our idea.
Oh, there we go. Roland Quackermott on YouTube, Hoarders. I'm going to give it to one other person on Instagram. First one I see. Real Travis Collins. Oh, I thought it was Real Travis Scott.
That's my buddy from Calgary.
That's your friend?
crazy.
Real Travis
No
Collins,
way.
$100. I think so on this call I gave out,
Holy
I think
cow.
almost $2,000. And one person's got the chance for Friday. We did welcome to, or I should say, goodbye from the Investor Show, sponsored today. Get in this if you want 4-month certification and how to use Airbnb to make an extra $1,000 to $10,000 a month with no money down, without great credit, even using the house you live in now, the apartment you live in, empty lots, tree houses, RVs,
Yurts.
your friends' properties, yurts. Works in 191 countries you can do this in. Okay? This group right here, especially these two right here, these are more traditional real estate people like me, us three. They're kind of, this Airbnb next level, done over 5 million in the last 2 years. So this stuff works. We're not promising you to be a millionaire, but we got this test group open for 7 more days. You go to tylopez.com/HSMC live, or you click the link that's right there on your live stream, or if you're watching this later, you can click the link below. Someone said, thank you, Ty. This live was great. If Ty went to college, what would be his major? I would have probably I would have done sales with a minor in history. Or you become a medical doctor. That's a good use of your degree, I thought at one point about being a medical doctor, but my cousin is becoming a medical doctor. He's at UCLA. It's a long time, boy. You should be a medical doctor not for the money. You should be because you want to help people. Because by the time you see any of that money, especially as a surgeon, you're like 36. Some surgery type stuff you get done at 36. I think some are even later. It's insane. So you should go and do that if that's you want to give back to the world. Don't go into being a doctor for money, And by the way, those of you who are doctors, great side business, real estate. So thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Ty.
All right.
Don't cut everything, just the lives, because I want to reshoot the opening. Thanks,
Ty.
man. Yep. Goodbye. Just cut the lives, but keep the...